Hi, hi everyone, welcome to SpeedGaming Live. We've got ourselves the first race of the Queen of Time Randomizer online tournament for the SGL 2022 event. We've got ourselves Gavroni versus Zephyr here on Race Stream, and I'm Star. With me is Maraba. We're the admins here. How are you doing?
If you're asking me, I'm doing fine. I'm a little frazzled. This is my first tournament that I'm doing admin duty for. Hey everyone in chat. I hope you're doing okay. We thought we would take a few minutes before the race actually starts to talk about this year's tournament settings.
Yep, so we've got ourselves a little bit of a variant on previous year's settings. We've got ourselves, as per previous years, we've got Three Stone Bridge, and the Gans Castle boss key is going to be on the later cutscene behind the Shadow and Spirit medallions. However, this year, some additional features are that they will be starting with Prelude, so that one of the 12 song locations will have a randomized item instead. There is also Free Scarecrow. We have, and perhaps the most notable change is going to be the addition of dual hints. So dual sometimes hints will hint two locations at once instead of just one, like your typical sometimes hints. So they might get a hint, for example, for the both checks in Bombchu Bowling, or they might get one for the Water Temple, Darklink, and River Chest. There's a whole bunch of those added, so there will be 3 dual sometimes hints and 4 of the regular sometimes hints we all know regularly.
I have just dropped a link to the rules and settings in chat, so if you are interested in knowing more, the details like what are the list of sometimes hints and what are the list of dual sometimes hints, they are right there. We have linked everything out of that one document.
Yep. Today it looks like they are starting with Minuet and the Light Medallion, the most useless of the dungeon rewards today, so it's classic that they started with it. Thanks, game! And we'll see how this goes. We've got ourselves Doc Heaps and the Salty Sponge here on commentary team. Say hi, you two.
What up?
Oh my goodness, how y'all doing?
Let's get hype.
Oh my
SGL, let's
God.
go. It's SGL season, peeps.
Oh, praise.
Alright,
Yep.
I am so excited. SGL is like one of my favorite tournaments. And this year, we get to kick off Qual 1, Doc Heaps and Sponge. And we got Gavroni and Zephyr with us, 2 veterans in the community, longtime runners, very, very good runners. Adam couldn't be more excited. Let's get it.
It's going to be such a good first qualifier match. I'm so stoked for this. And you know, talking about SGL, you know, there's always the 2 components, right? There's the online version, and then we get this year the in-person tournament for SGL, which I started Ocarina of Time Randomizer around November, December 2019. So this is my first year that not only I get the in-person, well, the online, but also the in-person. So I am extra hyped for this year's SGL for Ocarina of Time. It's going to be amazing.
Yep, and going into the actual qualifiers of it. So one thing I did notice when I read the qualifier rules is that you get 5 races that count, your first 5. So your first 3 races, they're going to count no matter what. Once you hit a 4th race, your best score gets dropped. And once you hit a 5th race, your worst score gets dropped. So from my perspective, it's really, really important that you try to avoid forfeiting in the early going, as having that 0 basically means you got to do 5 quals. So yeah. I think that's going to be something that we see a lot of runners try and employ early on, is, you know, try and play safe, get a good score in, try and not, you know, make too many mistakes. But at the same time, like, maybe some runners, like maybe Gav or Zephyr, may want to take advantage of that, because these settings are faster than the normal weekly settings that we see over in like the standard tournament or maybe some other settings, because there is one less hard required dungeon.
Well, and you know, having played through some of these new qualifier settings as well, have found that, these dual hints, it's only 2 locations versus 1, but they can be some really strong hints and point towards items that you need that otherwise wouldn't have been hinted towards in the actual always hints or these path hints. And so really, I think we're going to get even faster times just because they're going to have more direction of where to go with less things that they have to do in the process.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm not 100% if it was explained in the opening, but so we do need the 3 spiritual stones, and that will open the bridge to Ganon's castle. So Ganon's castle may be a factor if there is something in Ganon's that locks the ability to beat our shadow or spirit medallion dungeons, because those 2 medallions will unlock your boss key in order to beat Ganon. So there are 5 dungeons that must be completed no matter what in order to beat the seed. And yeah, got it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and the wild thing is that you could need the 3 stones to then go into Ganon's castle to find an item for a non-required dungeon that might eventually lead you towards either Shadow or Spirit Medallion. So you can get a little bit of bonker shenanigans going that way as well, just because Ganon's castle opens up so much earlier in these settings than a lot of the other settings you might be used to in Ocarina of Time Randomizer.
Yep. I think we're going to end up starting soon, so let's take a quick snapshot at our current start. We've got Minuet and Prelude. Prelude, obviously, we start with it, so that's always nice to have, but Minuet is super good as adult because it means that you get a song immediately. It's a really nice warp to have. Light Medallion is a little bad, but at least you know that any dungeon you clear is going to lead you towards a song, so it makes, it's really not nice having a light medallion, spirit, or shadow, because it's always in the back of your mind that, oh man, this is a really good play, but it's worthless.
But at the end of the day, it might not actually net you any progression. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going in about 15 seconds if I see that timer correctly. So if you are in chat and you are excited for this, get your hype in chat. We are just about to kick this race off.
I'm expecting an immediate Minuet play from both of these runners, as that early song, if it's ZL, can really help your routing your first time in adult CAC.
Yep.
As I assume both of these runners will go early.
Oh, absolutely. And having Prelude as one of the songs that you always have in SGL just makes for routing so much smoother, because it makes it a lot easier to flip between adult and child. And here we are.
Oh, interesting. So we have Zephyr running upriver immediately, Gav electing to play Minuet.
Yeah, and I don't think going upriver is a terrible idea. It not only gets you items. Oh. Zephyr deciding against that going Minuet.
I see. That might have been a sometimes when you start a seed, you get that especially when you're nervous in a qual like this, sometimes you're like, oh, I'm just gonna do what's in front of me, but then your logic gets the better of you, and it's like, oh no, I should really do this.
Yeah, you just start moving, and then your brain catches up, like, oh wait, no, I have Minuet. That's probably a better play.
Yeah, so we do have a scale on frogs too, so that would be an interesting item location if Water Temple is required.
And for those of you who don't know, there's one of our double hints. Horseback archery, having both a something, I didn't catch it because it wasn't required, and fire arrows. So knowing that if you do need some fire source, that you do have it available in horseback archery. That's nice to know.
And Death Mountain Trail is foolish as well.
And so just a quick word on Frogs 2, for those of you who don't know. Frogs 2 requires all the child songs. So everything that you see on that top row, from Zelda's Lullaby to Epona's to Saria's song, all required in order to get that check.
Oh, it's an early hookshot in Mido's house.
Yeah. Probably something we won't see immediately, but it's, you're going to need a hookshot regardless of... In fact, I don't know if you can find a combination of 5 rewards that wouldn't require a hookshot. Maybe if you try real hard.
Shadow, Spirit, Deku, water
could-
is required, and Jabu.
Yeah. So it's going to be a guaranteed, at least in the dungeons that they have that they need to complete, or at least knowing that Light Medallion is one of their free medallions. So always nice to find an early hook shot.
So we got a little bit of divergence here. Gav deciding to go child and forego adult CAC. I can't say that I would do this play personally. Obviously, Gav, he's an experienced runner. He knows what he's doing. Zephyr deciding to save warp and go back to CAC, which you get a free song. It's a bunch of checks early. So Zephyr, I think, is doing the more safe play. Gav, I think this is a pretty aggressive.
I think this is very aggressive. I think this is I'm going to rush songs as fast as possible, which arguably is one of the most valuable quote unquote items in the game, is having your songs, both warp songs as well as child songs.
Yeah, and getting ZL there pretty much just instantly gives Gav a little bit of like a pat on the back, like, okay, you had to go child to get ZL.
Mm-hmm.
But Zephyr's got a big chest here.
But when you think of Kakariko, it is one of the highest check dense locations, and especially with the far majority of, like, between that and Graveyard, and the far majority of them being what we would call Sphere 0, or not requiring another item in order to complete, you usually find something good between Kakariko and Graveyard as adult your first time through.
Yeah. That's why when you start as adult, it's usually most players will most of the time clear it in their adult one, because you never know, you could get something that helps your child one, like Rudo's Letter or something.
Or Bow, you know?
Yeah, that's not going to help your child one, but it is going to give you an option here. If you find some explosives, potentially, that opens up the crater loop, and, you know, maybe doing Link the Goron and getting another song at a crater, potentially.
I mean, or we could find a strength here in the next few checks and have everything that we need for Forest Temple within the first 10 minutes.
Except the shield.
You know, it is possible, but nobody likes to do it.
So one thing that we missed right there is, because you start with a song, the Child Zelda song that you would normally get from going through the castle and whatnot, one of your song checks is an item. And that actually was the windmill item. The windmill song actually was that bow.
Oh, oh, you're right. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So that's one thing that in most seeds with the starting prelude that runners have to think about when choosing to go to places like Ice Cavern. You have to think, okay, can there be an item there?
Ooh, so because we are going for 3 stones and 2 medallions, the always hint of Ocarina of Time, which usually requires the 3 spiritual stones, is replaced by an always hint of the Burning Cack song, which is what we just saw, that Burning Cack, or the 3 optional medallions, Forest, Fire, Water, is Song of Storms, which blocks a sizable amount of checks. And so there is a chance that if something like Bottom of the Well has a required item, that could mean that we're looking at 3 extra medallions that they need to get.
All right, so Zep just picked up Claim Check in the Graveyard. In the Dampe race. That is, Bigoron is not an always hint in this setting, if I remember correctly, because we start with Claim Check, because it's only Claim Check.
Exactly. I think something else to note as Gav is picking up these checks here. So SGL, or SpeedGaming Live, uses chest size and appearance matches content. So small chests are going to have what we would consider optional items, things like heart pieces, heart containers, recovery hearts, sticks, nuts, etc. And big chests are going to have unique items, is what I would say. So things like a bomb bag, things like a bow. And the decision was made in these settings to have bomb chews in the big chests. Ooh. And so you will not be finding any bomb chews in these small chests.
So Zev just picked up Rudo's Letter in CAC, and I did mention that was one of the items that could make their child section a little bit better. It is a bottle. If Zev can find a way to turn that bottle in, it is logical, well, potentially logical Ice Cavern access, but it is an empty bottle and the means to access Ice Cavern. So we'll have to see how this plays out, but
I mean, it certainly can't hurt your routing having more of these items. It just makes it easier. It can only make things smoother.
yep.
Oh, and hover boots.
Right.
Useful, probably a little bit. Well, yeah. Well, actually, with Bo, you can get the Death Mountain Crater song between Bo and hover boots. So might be going that way to get an extra song.
So I think in terms of early routing at this point, I think Gavaroni was playing more towards the theoretics, where Deku always good early, even if it's like not like one of your required medallions, very low sphere, very dense, wants to do it as quick as possible to try and, make their adult section better, especially with Minuet. And Zephyr is more like going towards a more standard, like I'm adult, I should do CAC, and now is using the items that they have in order to try and continue, get songs. So it's very interesting, the divergence here. It's more like a theoretics versus like the standard play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in talking about Deku Tree, because it is open Deku, meaning that we don't need any items to be able to get into and complete Deku, in practice, theoretically and logically, it does require Slingshot to get to Goma. But these runners have what they can do. B1 skip, you saw that on Gav's side. In theory, without needing Kokiri's sword, without needing Slingshot, they can do the whole of the dungeon straight from the beginning of the game. And so because of that, it's actually not a bad gamble to do it early, because you can basically predict that everyone is going to be doing Deku Tree at some point, whether or not it's required.
Yeah, and so it's one of those, like, it's very risky if you skip it. So most runners, especially in like a qualifier like this, where every second can count, it's generally not something that you're going to see people skip.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Is that? Whoa, that's long shot.
I wonder if that does anything cool right now. It does open up GTG access.
That was the only thing I was thinking of. I was like, if you feel bold, you can go GTG, but I don't know if I would in this moment. I think you've got so many other better plays right now.
Shoot the Sun does exist now. That's in logic.
We're going to see a nice peek here, again, because its chest size and appearance matches contents. Zephyr can actually peek to see if any of those 3 chests are required simply based off of size and appearance. So I didn't see anything that was either big or golden, so I don't think any of those 3 were required. I don't know if you saw it differently.
No, I saw a lot of brown. Usually you see a little bit of gold.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the nice things about, previously in Season 5, it was just chest size matches content. So it was brown, but just bigger brown. And I think the change of chest size and appearance matches contents makes it a little bit easier for some of these peaks.
Oh.
Speaking of GTG.
Yeah, I mean, getting Requiem here is good for Zephyr's potential child routing, because if he finds a way to do Child Spirit, if he wants to route that in. Spirit is Fire Medallion, and we have Forest Medallion Shadow. So, well, with Burning Cack Storms, maybe you're thinking, okay, like, maybe I should hedge my bet just in case I have to get Storms this seed.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also, I mean, Requiem is one of those songs that's really nice because it chains. And so it's a song that becomes another song. And so the second you start getting these snowballing songs of like a song turns into a song, turns into another song. Oh! Hello, Deku Tree Baron hint.
Oh, that's a very nice hint for Zephyr. And that's this is where the randomizer factor comes into play. Because obviously, everything that Gavaroni did here it's very logical. And it's logical on both sides. Zephyr just happened to, his route took him towards that hint before going into Deku.
Absolutely. So, I don't think Gavaroni made a misstep or misplay at all. Just unfortunate that Zephyr's route led him to now save 4 to 5 minutes in Deku Tree, because he doesn't have to do a lot of these little side areas that might cost him a little bit of extra time.
Yeah, at this point, the only reason Zephyr ever goes into Deku is if he's a Deku away from Song of Storms and he thinks it's his next best play.
Exactly.
So that's Bolero with Colossus, and I think that's a nice song to get because you had to go all the way to Crater to get that.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is... Nope. I was going to say a fire tip, but I was wrong.
And we did see Gaborone pick up Magic on the Lost Woods Bridge Scrub before. It doesn't do anything for us currently, but that does mean that when Epona shows up, we do have access to a fire source logically on horseback archery.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's something to keep in mind.
Now, I'm trying to figure out where exactly Zephyr is going. I'm not entirely sure.
The claim check.
Oh, claim check. You're right.
So I saw Graveyard Way of the Hero and 30 Skulls Dead, but I did not see the other two hints.
All right, and Gav just doing some cleanup as well as going to get their Lon Lon Ranch song. Again, with songs being some of the most powerful quote-unquote items in the game. The earlier that you can get them, the more they pay off in the long run. 5-pack of chews. Not really what I mean, they're nice, but not really what you want to see when you get a pack of chews.
I have to ask Zephyr about this because I too forgot that DMT was foolish, and they got a 5-pack of chews from Foolish Begora. I'm not gonna question it.
No. I mean, I don't know what to say except for just like it's the idea of falling upwards. You know, it's like you're making an objectively bad play and it just somehow works out. Taking time to do a foolish area and having it be the one thing that you could benefit from in a foolish area, i.e. bomb chews.
Yeah, so Zephyr's gonna take this into the Dongo's Cavern here. The most interesting thing about that bomb choose, to be honest, to me right now, is that it allows Zephyr to turn in the letter. Although the letter the impact is kind of lessened because Gaborone just picked up a bottle.
And that's what I was thinking. So for those of you who might not be as familiar with the Ocarina of Time randomizer scene, there was a trick found about a year and change ago that allows you to, in a glitchless manner, be able to bypass King Zora without having to turn in the letter, but still get into Zora's Fountain and Ice Cavern. And so very often you will now see if people have a bottle and either Hovers or Zelda's Lullaby, that they will... Oh my god!
Are you kidding me? This guy!
All right, so look, I don't even know what to say, Sponge. Like, truly the definition of failing upwards. Doing a barren look, like playing Bolero to go to an area that you've already done, just to turn in a claim check in a barren location to find the one item that could benefit you, to then go into the Dongo's Cavern with 5 bomb chews and pull a bomb bag in your first chest is madness. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Zephyr's early routing is sort of getting counterfeited. Gaborone also just found chews in the Lon Lon Ranch silo, so Gaborone is going to be following in the footsteps of Zephyr, just being a lot more efficient about things.
Yeah.
So it's very funny for Zephyr in the current scheme, but I do believe that, I mean, he's got to do DC before going back Child, but unfortunately, I don't think he's going to benefit all that much in the efficiency standpoint, but it is very funny.
It's delightful.
It's very funny.
I can't. God, I forgot what I was gonna say.
We were talking about King Zora Skip.
No, I had moved on. I was thinking of something. Oh, yes, I remember. So the one thing to keep in mind about bomb chews is that even though bomb chews are now showing up in large chests, it doesn't mean that anything that you use bomb chews on is in logic. Everything will be out of logic if you use bomb chews without a bomb bag. And so, for example, we know that bomb bag requires something along the lines of either strength or hammer in order to get. The fact that Zephyr got it with bomb chews doesn't mean that it's therefore in logic. So it's just something to keep in mind as you're thinking about like routing and logic, that while Zephyr benefited from getting that with bomb chews, it wasn't actually the in logic way of getting that bomb bag.
Yeah, and that's something that we might have to keep in mind as well as we move forward. You do need one of a strength upgrade or the hammer in order to actually logically reach that bomb bag.
Mm-hmm.
So we may see a way of the hero down the line for a strength upgrade or a hammer for that very reason, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Which honestly is this nice little 2-for-1 where it's like you fulfill the quote-unquote, path or way of the hero, but you also end up getting something that might be useful for another dungeon, i.e. a strength for forest or spirit, or possibly hammer for fire temple. And so while it leads you to the bomb bag, it's kind of this nice little 2-for-1 hint that gets you both to the bomb bag as well as other items you need for other dungeons.
Yeah, and feel free to ask questions in chat. It is the early game. There's a lot going on. There will be periods throughout the race where like both runners are doing a dungeon that we've seen before that we'll have time to kind of go over things as we've seen them. So apologies to those who may be, trying to keep up with things and maybe are finding it a little difficult. It's kind of par for the course in the early game in OOT Seeds. It's very early.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Usually when I'm streaming the first 10 or 15 minutes, I'm on the quieter side because there's so many hints that you're finding. There's so many items that you're finding. And so you're constantly thinking, okay, what are my next plays? What's my next route? Where can I make this pay off the most? And then usually by the mid or the late game, you're doing a lot of dungeons. So it's a lot of muscle memory and it's a lot of just execution at that point.
So even though Zephyr does have bombs, it is still important for them to open the smaller chests because we do have Fire Temple required as one of our stones, and fire is very notorious for being very tricky to deal with the heat timer.
Yeah, having the bottle makes it a little bit easier, but to beat Volvagia, the final boss especially, doing so on less than 5 hearts is near impossible.
Alright, so I assume Zephyr will beat King Dodongo and probably go Child to kind of retrace Gav's steps. And I assume now Gav's going Adult, and it's going to kind of run into the same thing Zephyr has, although Zephyr does have the important information that Deku is foolish, so they are going to save some time there.
Mm-hmm. And looking at it, it is an optional medallion. I hadn't actually looked to see what was required or not yet, so I was like, I don't know.
If Storms is required, it can be hard required, but now Zephyr will be able to just go back when they have like Din's Fire, and we already know where magic is, so there is no like pressing reason to do Deku right now for Zeph.
Totally. And actually, now that I've had a chance to sit down and look at this layout, it's one of those that can lend itself to a faster race. Dungeons that have a lot of requirements, things like Shadow requiring, well, I was going to say Mirror Shield for Spirit, but there we go. Dungeons that have higher requirements, things like Shadow requiring, things like Din's, Hovers, Nocturne, Spirit requiring 2 strengths, Mirror Shield, can mean more items that need to be found to beat the seed. But then you've got things like Forest Temple, where you have to find a bow and a hookshot anyway in the seed, so you're just missing the strength. Fire is just a hammer. Water tends to be one of the slower ones, and same thing with Jabu. But DC, you're basically going to be finding explosives at some point in the seed anyways. So it's a nicer layout, I will say.
Yeah, so the benefit to Gav for finding that mirror shield is that they didn't have enough money to actually buy a shield in CAC, so it's very convenient, whereas Zephyr is going to dip Forest without checking that grotto. So they're going to check the first couple in here without a shield.
Yeah, and as somebody who recently did this within the last 24 hours, I don't recommend it because it didn't go well for me.
Yeah.
And you'll see, Stalfos can be quite difficult without a shield. One of the most common ways to fight Stalfos is a technique called power crouch stabbing. So you store a jump slash, and then you crouch stab with a shield, which applies jump slash damage. In this case, Zephyr does not have that luxury, and so it's going to have to do all this damage one at a time.
One thing I do kind of want to point out, I did notice this, but I wanted to wait a little bit until we had a better time. Gaborone did use a lot of their bomb shoes in their last child segment, but they routed in a way that allowed them to do something that's called save scumming, where you use a bunch of you save and then you use a bunch of consumables, i.e. it's mostly done with bomb shoes, and then if you don't find anything, you just hit the reset button, and now you've checked all these checks and you have all your bomb shoes back. Gaborone just checked a whole bunch of explosive block checks as child, and they have 8 bomb shoes. They don't know that they're going to run into the bomb bag, so for them, every choose could be extremely valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. It can. The one thing is it can be a little bit on the slower side to save scum those chews, and you will see some runners who elect that the time saved of just moving is better than trying to reset and get those chews back. Most runners, though, will elect, if they only have a pack of bomb chews as their only explosives, to try to save them for as long as possible and make them last as long as possible.
Yeah, and that can really decide some seeds, is how you choose to use your choose.
Choose.
Choose wisely.
Oh God. God, I hate it so much. I want anyone, new commentator, anyone.
So Gaborone picking up the stuff that Zephyr was able to grab in their adult one.
Yep, and this is our first viewing of what the small key looks like. So with that chest size and appearance matches content, you're going to look for that silver border around the small chest that indicates a small key.
That is one large chest in one Forest Temple well. I'm calling it strength upgrade.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's just another bomb bag!
It's another bomb bag!
Oh, wait, that's a logic. That's our bomb logic.
Yeah, because we started with
we have
minuet.
Song of Time, we have Hookshot. Yep, that's logic.
Yep. Started with minuet, so we have forest access. Yep. I mean, it's not the fun bomb bag, but you're right. It is a bomb bag that's in logic.
That's the boring bomb bag.
Could you imagine a second dungeon item just in its dungeon? And then the answer is yes, because we've played enough seeds that anything happens.
Zephyr, I hope, actually is able to show us off a CSMC exclusive trick here. They're going to do the Floormaster chest, but then with a precise arrow shot from the Floormaster alcove and the long shot, they might be able to get the chest from the block room eye without needing a strength upgrade. So we'll see if they elect to do that strat.
Mm-hmm. If nothing else, you can at least peek it from that alcove, and it's a pretty generous range of places where you can shoot that ice switch. Less generous to get it, but pretty generous to shoot it at least.
Yeah, so he is walking back. Oh, he's warping away. Okay, so I don't think they remembered that they can do that, but that's okay. They only really get punished for that if it's a strength upgrade. So okay.
All right, and one of the things to keep in mind about that Forest Medallion, now that I'm actually paying attention, is that Forest Medallion locks 2 songs. We know that it locks the one on Burning Cack, which requires forest fire and water medallions, but also locks this Temple of Time Prelude song check, locked behind just the forest medallions. So the fact that Shadow with a fairly high dungeon requirement locks 2 songs is just interesting to note. And depending on what the 2 songs are, could lock some pretty significant items.
Yeah, we haven't gotten anything quote-unquote Way of the Hero from Graveyard yet. So we have Composer Grave and the Torches, Dampe. So if this ends up being Nocturne, that could be very ominous. Oh, it's not!
Oh, of course it is. Well, and it doesn't surprise me because Shadow Temple itself locks what? 11, 12 items.
And Storms and another song.
And Storms locks what? 15? It's just. Well, what was that?
Gav just got a Forest Temple Way of the Hero.
Oh.
Where Bombag is sitting.
Oh.
Currently our logical Bombag.
Well, and so the interesting thing is I'm thinking about that, right? Is if that truly is our logical bomb bag and the Forest Temple Way of the Hero, which would be insanity, it also means that everything that would give us access to DC is locked behind that bomb bag, i.e. Strength and Hammer, which just gives us even more information about where those items might be if we need them, which we know we need Hammer and Strength.
That is true. So a full forest clear is going to give us a lot of information about where our items are going to fall here.
Yeah. Gav just about to walk into getting their bomb bag. Unbeknownst to them.
Yeah, it's very interesting because what we know is, Zephyr got shoes from Vigoron. Gavaroni will never expect that anyone will have taken Zephyr's route.
No!
Yeah, that is bomb locked.
Yeah.
And Market is Way of the Hero.
Interesting. And also, goes to show the routing divergence and how, again, both players made very great choices in their own respects, but because Zephyr got the bomb bag during their adult 1, it is only benefiting their child section as they go. And now that bomb bag is going to snowball into a strength, which is going to snowball into forest act, beating forest, and Gav is going to have to come back for that.
Yeah, I guess it's only a real punish if Gav decides to extend their adult 1 past normal means, and that strength upgrade locks something deeper in Forest Temple. It's very possible, but at this point it's looking like the bomb bag is Way of the Hero currently.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not sure if Gavaroni knows that Market is Way of the Hero. I think Zephyr, if I'm not mistaken, it's hard to keep up with everything in the early game. I believe Zephyr just found that outside of Castle Fairy?
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that.
I'm just going to kind of smile and nod and go, uh-huh.
Ah, yes, I am correct.
Yes. Very good.
I'm not sure.
Very good sponge.
I'm not sure Gavaroni has that information yet. I mean, when they have a bomb bag and they come back child, obviously it's going to be something that they do in that segment. It's just a question of whether they decide, okay, I'm gonna go for GTG here, because I imagine Gavaroni is gonna head through Crater and the like and kind of pick up the same things that Zephyr has picked up. They'll pick up their long shot. They'll know, okay, GTG's and Logic. So yeah, and with Bow Hook, Song of Time, GTG's not a bad play. Get you everything, but really those strength 2 lock checks, and what we as a community have called toilet. It's the it's the underwater silver rupee room. You'll also hear it called, but it's far less boring of a name, or far less exciting of a name. Just a Stone of Agony guarded by our Tektite friend today.
Go, Zephyr, go.
Oh, yeah. Is Zephyr going to make this?
Go.
That was a risky play.
It is doable. I have done it, but it is like seconds.
It's getting pretty night. It's getting dark out.
Oh no, not
Zephyr,
the
you gotta make it suffer.
Oh, I think he made it by like
Yeah, it's not
milliseconds. Oh, who'd have thought that getting hung up on a corner of a wall might have cost him?
I don't know about you, but that's like the most stressed I think I've ever been on comms. I've commed like high-profile tournament matches, but that. Oh god.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
I
And that
know.
would there's no suns in
No.
the near future, so that could have been pretty bad.
Oh, I love when Zephyr came out and the sky was orange. I was like, oh shoot, like we are talking about like 20 or 30 seconds that he's got to book it across field and get to Lon Lon. Again, because Lon Lon songs are some of the most powerful things to have early in the seed, and if you miss time of day here, you're missing a song. In this case, it's Saria, so it's not the most useful, but you're missing out on that, and trying to find a way to reroute that back in can be real tricky.
Yeah, and the only reliable time of day reset Deku Tree he knows is Baron, so the only they would just have to find a way to waste time of day to come back here. I'm actually very surprised that Zephyr hasn't played Minuet beforehand. Maybe they felt like, okay, I'm going to go to Lon Lon first and play Minuet out of the back, because this is a very good place. Okay, so that pack of bomb chews is actually really good information for Zephyr, because they know, okay, like my kind of weird early game route to get my first bomb bag has been counterfeited now, because everybody who goes to Lon Lon Ranch is going to have bomb chews when they come back for their adult section. So they know, like, okay, the bomb bag isn't a big... They can safely say the bomb bag's not a big, advantage for them, but it did give them access to that strength upgrade. So that now Zephyr should know that that's their ticket currently.
Exactly. And I think just to point out something that Zephyr did, which I think is really smart and easily overlooked, is that Zephyr knew that he was going to be playing a warp song. So he knew that he was going to be playing Minuet, and didn't know where his save spawn location was. And so used that as the opportunity to save quit, see where he ended up, knowing that he was going to be playing a warp song anyway, so it doesn't actually lose any time, but could gain time if that save spawn location was in a good location or a useful location. In this case, it's market, so not really. But if that was somewhere, for example, like Lake Hylia or Zora's Domain, that could have saved Zephyr time, and having that information can be really useful and sometimes even logically required. Yeah,
exactly. There are some very fringe cases where your spawn can be somewhere that the seed actually expects you to check. So.
I think one of the most classic is spawning on the far side of the Gerudo Valley Bridge, or spawning in Gerudo Fortress or Haunted Wasteland, because then the game no longer expects you to have things like opponents or long shot to do GGG. It can expect you to go straight there out of the gate and have that be totally logical.
Yeah. One thing I do kind of want to point out about the play styles of these two players is that Zephyr is at around 8 skulls currently, Gaborone is only at 3. And I know that Gaborone is not the type to prioritize skulls in the early game. Some say in a group of settings that generally give you a faster seed, you shouldn't really rush skulls. But it is interesting to note that if there is something on, like, maybe a 20 skull check that's hard required, it's more likely than not that Zephyr is going to get to it first based on early skull collecting.
Exactly. And I think Zephyr has also benefited from doing locations that are notorious for having high skull collection, like Forest, having done DC, and so able to pick up some of the skulls in that way. Didn't Gav already do this? I swear Gav already did that.
No, that was Zephyr who took the peek. Gaborone, he's peeking at the left side maze, the one that he couldn't get as a child because he scummed the bomb chews for the right side maze. So that was the only one that he was interested in.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because I was like, I swear he's already been in there, but no, you're right. Couldn't see the left based off of that.
So Gav's gonna head through Crater. Gav might not get that Deku Baron hit. I mean, it's redundant for him at this point because he's already done Deku. Oh, he barely.
Oh, I was like, that shouldn't have worked.
That was a pick. Just nipped him in the butt.
Just a little kiss. Oh my god, that worked. You know, every day this game surprises me.
All right. So I'm interested because I think Zephyr's going to clean up Child here. I'm interested in two things. Does Zephyr go into Child's Spirit here? And I wonder what Gav is going to do next. They don't have the Market Way of the Hero. So I'm not sure if there's like a reason for Gav to rush Child. I feel like...
Oh, no! No! Honey, no!
That is very unfortunate.
Especially because they got it. They got the timing. But then just missed the hole.
Yeah, the texture on that hole is actually a lie. It's more... You have to go more towards the... Like the hole is more to the right than it actually is.
Yep. It's like anytime you ever try to hookshot a skull, and the hitbox is never where the texture is.
Ooh, that's a Gerudo Valley dual hint.
Ooh, that's nice.
So both our Gerudo Valley checks are dead.
One of my more favorite dual hints, because of course, you know, that still leaves the hammer chest available. But knowing those two Child ones are dead can save quite a bit of time in routing.
And
oof.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate piece of information for Gav. But I think from his perspective, I think he's followed a relatively logical route to this point. From his perspective, the only way he gets punished by that is if somebody decides to use the bow to hit Link the Goron and go into Crater. So he can't possibly predict that somebody would route like Zephyr, but
yeah. And again, like I totally agree with the way that Gav routed this, playing a very aggressive Child, knowing that songs are valuable, knowing that Deku was open. Just unfortunate that the Deku hint was after completing Deku, not before.
Yeah, one thing that's really interesting to point out is that Zephyr does not have that Crater Way of the Hero hint that is in the Crater Wall. So we know that Requiem is Way of the Hero, where we have Requiem and potentially Nocturne Way of the Hero.
Oh, it's Song of Storms. Oh, what do you have bottom of the well?
Yeah, and we have logical access to Cross as well.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you have bottom of the well? I see you.
It's just gonna be light arrows.
It's gonna be something dumb. I almost said a swear because I got angry just thinking about it.
What the fliplin fladoodle?
What the fudge monkey?
So Gav, yep, I think Dipping Forest here is a really safe play for them. It is Way of the Hero.
Mm-hmm. And especially when you are talking about this early loop, right? So you do the first check here, you beat the Stalfos, you do the front courtyard. Very common forest dip because it can lose you, maybe 30 seconds versus people who just single dip it. But the value that you can possibly get out of these 5 checks is quite big.
Oh.
Is Zephyr gonna get down pay time?
Yeah, I think he's got like 4 or 5 seconds to spare.
It's gonna be close, but you're right. I think he's got it.
I mean, we'll see. I usually go by the moment the bridge goes up, but I wasn't looking at that second, so I can't say for sure. Zeph is gonna get 10 skulls here.
Mm-hmm. And this is a great play for Zephyr because Zephyr hasn't done the composer's grave yet, and so can not only get the song from there, but can also get the item and help them piece together a little bit more why graveyard might be Way of the Hero.
All right, nothing on 10.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to your point, if Zephyr was able to make time for Dampe, and they can full clear graveyard, they know for sure, okay, then to our knowledge right now, Nocturne seems the most likely suspect for a Way of the Hero, but you never know. Dampe could go dig a hammer. Well, no, it can't dig a hammer, but he could dig the boomerang out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he did make Dampe, so... Or a wallet?
Oh, God. Wallet is one of the worst things to see in a Way of the Hero location. Because it could mean nothing, it could mean everything, and you won't know until you find the tunics.
Although the coolest thing about that wallet, so so we know that wallet 2 is in Shadow Trial 2. So you need to beat Fire in order to actually get that wallet. So we know that there's no other available wallet. So I mean, usually in standard standard tournament, that if a wallet's Way of the Hero, that means that somehow Fire locks checks. But I think because Fire locks access to Ganon's castle and the other wallet, it's sort of a much more boring Way of the Hero in here.
Yeah, and also much more likely.
Yeah, it's because like we know it's Way of the Hero, but now Nocturne is here too. There's also a random Goron tunic in the world, so that's actually going to be really important if we ever pick that up. Like.
And so it's, you know, for people who are a little bit more seasoned in Ocarina of Time Randomizer might know that in some tournaments recently there have been what are called path hints, or X object leads to Y dungeon, which has its pros and cons, absolutely. But when talking about SpeedGaming Live or SGL, WAF hints or Way of the Hero hints can only tell you about a location. It can't tell you about a dungeon. And so because of that, we don't actually know, is that wallet pointing towards fire? Is it eventually pointing towards water? Or is it pointing towards that Nocturne going shadow for something totally different?
Ooh, Richard, this is a check that we haven't seen yet. So I know that Gaborone knows about that trick with the bow. The only question is whether it enters their mind currently as there it is. So you could shoot this target from here. It's just the key, okay. So that's one of those CSMC specific peaks that you can just shoot that. You don't need a strength upgrade. And with the long shot, you can actually get it if the chest is big.
Mm-hmm. So I would imagine Zephyr goes right back to Forest. You've got Minuet, you've got Strength, you've got Hookshot, you've got Bow.
Yeah, Zephyr will be re-entering Forest as Gaborone is leaving Forest. And Zephyr also did not check Chess Game.
Oh, you're right.
You know, that might have been one of those situations, I do this all the time, where it's like, I can never check Chess Game this early. Like, what's Chess Game? Yep, okay, and on the left, this is what I suspected, is that Gaborone now is going to head over to GTG because it's their best location. They do not have knowledge of Market Way the Hero from Castle Fairy, so now, from Gaborone's perspective, this is the best play.
Yep, and I just want to take it aside to welcome in SpeedGaming 2 with their rate of 131. Welcome on in, y'all, to the first qualifier race for the online tournament of Ocarina of Time Randomizer. I'm Doc Heaps. With me is the Salty Sponge, or Sponge.
One or the other, you know, it's fine. What's up, cool peeps?
What's up?
So for those of you just joining, just a real quick, the win condition, we need all 3 spiritual stones and the shadow and spirit medallions in order to defeat Ganon.
Mm-hmm. On that tracker, you'll see those names highlighted in case you're wondering which ones those are.
All right, so Gavaroni finishing, reversing, Zephyr making their way through Forest Temple. We are going to see a really fun piece of movement tech from Zephyr here, where because they have the hover boots and a bomb bag and a shield, they are going to be able to ground jump on top of these blocks. This saves about, if the timing estimations are correct, this saves about 9 seconds of just pure execution, just being able to do these ground jumps if you get them first try.
And also, they're just fun.
It's very cool. You get to look like such a cool person.
I was like, and it's sometimes I just do it because it's just fun.
So store the ground jump, hover on over to this, take the hovers off. See, that's the hard part, is actually getting up there because you only have a tiny sliver.
So the interesting thing is I actually have found that it's easier to ground jump from the face of the block versus trying to get on from the side of the block. Because you can, with the same amount of pulls, which is 7, you can ground jump and pull yourself up from the main face of the block. And it's a little bit easier than trying to pull yourself up from the side. So if you ever struggle with that but want to do it, it's a good option to try.
So Gav is going for the fortress chest here. This is something that you can peek from the jail cell, so I assume they saw a big chest.
I think they fell as so they initially tried to peek, but the corner of the wall was obscuring their view, and they tried to sneak forward to see it and fell. So weren't able to peek, so they had to go the long way.
Okay, I see.
But definitely something that I do when I'm coming from Valley side into Fortress is just get captured real easy. Hook shot up and peek that before you go and fight the guard. So it's just a way to kind of combo those two things together.
Gav's going to go right side GTG first, which is like the standard way to go if you're looking for one item, but in this case, Gavaroni doesn't have any strength upgrades, so like there's always the chance that they'll run into one. And
yeah, and I support this, like, because that means that you're going to be hitting the strength 2 lock checks towards the end of your GTG run, increasing your chances of finding one. So not opposed to it. It is a little bit slower if you're planning on full clearing GTG, but can help you in routing if the one item that you're looking for does end up being on this right side.
yeah, and you also get a bit of a clearer picture of peeking the maze this way too. I know I play on VC. I know Gavaroni plays on emulator, so they probably get a clear look, but for me especially, it's always nice to actually come over here. There's a big chest in the middle. So that gets kind of dicey because now every check that you can do in GTG becomes that much more important potentially. You need 7 keys in order to get to that chest. Oh, and there's another big hammerlock chest. How much you want to bet this is like a bomb bag? Or something?
Just bomb bag number 3. No, look, anytime that I think it's going to be useful, it's a slingshot. Like, anytime
right,
I get excited, it's just another slingshot.
We got hype on both screens here, peeps.
Oh.
It's a bow.
No, not only is that a bow, but that is the vanilla placement for that bow.
Oh god.
I knew it! Oh, I knew it! Anytime I get excited about an item, it's just a slingshot.
Well, I mean, we still need a logical slingshot in order to beat Deku, if we need to beat Deku. And that's Hammerlock.
And that's so deep. Who knows where that is? Great timing on that jump slash into crouch stab from Zephyr.
Yeah, that's not that easy to do.
No. Just a few frames that you have to get the between the invulnerability of the first hit and the disappearing on the second hit.
Oh!
So
that's in logic.
That's in logic with what we've got. So that's not wallet.
Nocturne.
Or
Shadow is required.
Or do we know where Zora Tunic is?
We don't know, but the only other item in graveyard was that wallet.
If
So
we
the wallet's not required.
Could
Oh,
still be
technically.
something unique. Because we can get into Ganon's without being water, which is sick nasty, and I don't know.
That would be nuts. That would mean Hammer would have to be like key locked in water or some dumb stuff like that.
Oh my god.
If we find the Hammer in water this seed.
but you're right. We joke about it. Finding that Goron tunic almost certainly means Nocturne.
The Bloodmorang!
Oh, okay. So that is now Jabu. That is, and here's the other thing. When we're talking about routing, right? You really wanted Gav to find the Boomerang because that would force Gav to go back to Child and get their strength out of Bomb True Bowling. Gav really doesn't have a lot of reason now to go back Child because they're not going to find Boomerang without that strength. They're not going to find that strength without that bomb bag, and they're not going to find that, and they're not going to go Child unless they
do have a Requiem Way of the Hero. So it is one potential method. I'm just worried. Like, what if Gav goes Ice Cavern?
Which is very possible.
Also, I do also want to mention that we are 2 items from glow mode.
Are we really?
Yes, we need Iron Boots and Hammer.
And we have Terrible Way of the Heroes. So here we are. I could see an Ice Cavern play, knowing that you have Ruto's Letter, knowing that you have access. I'm curious what's in the middle here and the implications of it. Because almost certainly there is a strength 2 locked key. And logically, the center chest requires 9 keys, because if you're ever worried about key logic, just assume that you're an idiot, and that's how key logic works. So it assumes that you used your keys on the right, went, oh darn, I saved, now I gotta go left. So you need all 9 keys to get to the middle, logically.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put my money on this being that logically relevant. Come on, what are the chances that this is Hammer or Iron Boots, right?
It's another slingshot, I told you. Like, watch this.
It's gonna be Bomb Shoes.
Oh, I hate this seed so much.
that is a feels bad for Gabberoni for sure.
Just the disappointment on his face. Oh god.
To be fair though, let's not like dogpile on it too much, but it's a very unfortunate find for sure. GTG was a very good play from Gab's point of view. It's just very unfortunate that this Market Way the Hero is now, or this lack of a Market Way the Hero, I should say, there's another big chest in Forest.
Yeah. I mean, I again, Gav has made great plays. GGG is one of the highest density locations that is currently accessible and in Logic. And, oh my god, it's another big chest.
It's hammer locked. There's another strength. That is strength locked, so that would lend credence to strength 1 being Way of the Hero. And strength 1 was bomb locked, so Forest has just got everything. And we have Requiem Way of the Hero. So, and Zephyr, they're being able to get that bomb bag in their Outlet 1 has really, like, just really put them in a nice little groove here to...
Really snowballed, yeah.
So now, like, Zephyr's got a couple options. They can go into Spirit Temple before they go Child, but I think the best play for Zephyr is to just go through to your progression.
Yeah.
As quickly as possible.
Yeah,
So
I think doing Jabu and then possibly Child Spirit is probably the best thing Zephyr could do, especially having Prelude.
So wait, let's think for a sec, because we have a Nocturne and a Requiem Way of the Hero, and we're missing 2 items. Well, 3 if you include Light Arrows, because like one of them could be Way of the Hero with the lead. Yeah, so Zephyr
Do you want to explain
attempted
that,
to go for
Sponge?
he attempted to go for the 0-cycle Phantom Ganon, where you can stun lock. The long and short of it is you can stun lock Phantom Ganon in place and then hit him over and over again. The mistake that Zeph made there is that he walked a few steps forward to Phantom Ganon before shooting the arrow, and that gives Phantom Ganon enough time to get out of the stun lock. To do that successfully, you have to not walk forward, shoot the arrow, and then hit him with the sword.
Yep, and it looks like Zephyr got Phantom Ganon down to 5 hits, or 10 damage technically, with each jump slash being 2 damage, Phantom Ganon requiring 6 jump slashes worth of damage. Which means that Phantom Ganon is going to be not fun, and fly around and shoot from really high distances and sometimes dive at you. And so... I always count hits, because if I ever get to that 4 and I know that I'm not going to get that 5th crouch stab, like I know if I'm not going to get that 6th crouch stab, I will stop at 4, so that way I can avoid this phase of Phantom Ganon.
Uh-oh. Zephyr, come on, buddy, you got this.
Ugh.
Oh,
Praise.
let's go.
Praise.
All right.
Yeah, it's an annoying phase to fight, and sometimes it's worth just stopping a crouch stab earlier to avoid going into this phase if you know that you're not going to get that 6th hit in before Phantom Ganon flies back up again.
Yeah. So Gav's going to head into Hyrule Field here. The interesting bit about Hyrule Field to this point is that there is 2 available hint stones that we have not looked at yet. So Gav could stumble into a Market Way the hero that, would set him on the right track here to make further progress in the seed.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of hint information, the only info that Zephyr does not have currently or cannot confirm is Requiem Way the hero and Crater, because they don't know it's Crater's Way the hero currently.
Oh, hi, Kokiri Sword.
That's a nice little convenience item.
Yeah. When you're playing settings in what we would call closed Deku, meaning that Mido is blocking the entrance to Deku Tree, Kokiri Sword is a required item for Deku. In this case, because it's open Deku and Mido's already been moved, Kokiri Sword's just a nice little additional fashion piece, but doesn't actually do anything with the logic.
It is nice to not have to manage sticks. There's another big Justin Field.
What do we got?
The other magic.
Cool. Gav is finding a lot of items that, while nice, are not actually going to help him progress the seed anymore.
I think he is going trial, maybe setting time of day. What I am interested
Probably
in is
time of
Zephyr
day.
is in Fire Temple. I guess I want to see if they're hammer locked.
Yeah, I guess a Fire Temple dip is fine. You've got to do it anyway.
Okay, this is Dampe from Gav, because he's got Nocturne. He wants to set time of day. He wants the full clear graveyard. I hope he steps out into market first.
Yeah, and I think he will. Hopefully, please.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this child segment is going to be market, grab strength, check Dampe, back adult, Forest Temple.
Yep.
Because that seems like the kind of line Gav would take if they checked market right here.
Did you mention Spirit Temple?
I did not mention Spirit Temple.
I wonder if he will end up going and doing Spirit Temple along the way.
He is save warping.
That's Bombchu Shop, right?
Yeah, that is the Bombchu Shop. So maybe this is a slightly faster way to get the Bombchu bonus. He does play on emulator, so save warping is considerably faster on VC. I'm sorry, considerably faster on emulator. What am I saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, you don't get much slower than save quitting on PC or on virtual consoles, it's called. And the reason why, if you're not used to the nuances of Ocarina of Time Randomizer, emulator skips the the first prompt that says actually something GameCube controller. I don't know. I don't
You
play
will
VC.
need the classic controller.
There it is. I was like, I don't play VC.
What that classic controller is, I have no idea.
I play emulators, so I get to skip that every time. Is the advantage, and that's why it saves a few seconds on save quits, and why some people will opt to save quit more often if they're on emulator versus virtual console. or what Asder said, which is just sometimes it tries to create characters out of Japanese characters that don't exist, and it just has a mumble of random characters.
So I'm trying to think of why Zephyr is continuing here, and I'm thinking the only thing I can think of is 1, progression, and 2, maybe he's playing into the potential Tunic Way of the Hero from Graveyard? Because without the hammer, this is a bit of a time commitment to just climb like this.
It feels very aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is progression, so I mean, you are technically clearing a dungeon that you have to do, but like, what if the hammer ends up being your go mode and the boss keys and the loop on the bottom? So there's a lot of... Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of, is that maybe they're locked on to Tunic Way of the Hero, and they're like, okay, well, Tunic Way of the Hero, Fire Temple. Okay. Gav is checking chess games, so this is something that eluded Zephyr's thoughts earlier on. Oh, and there's a big chest in fire!
So with the keys that Zephyr needs, you need...
Oh, this needs
Zephyr's going to need 1 more key here and 1 more key on the map chest or the ice switch chest in order to get that big chest.
And that is a key.
There's 1. Yep, you need 4 keys to get past this lower maze segment, with a 5th key to get to the upper maze segment.
Yeah, we're only done with chess game. Just a heart container in there. So our only unchecked check left in market is Big Pose.
Yeah.
Which is not currently in Logic because you do not have a bonus song.
I will say, so with hover boots, you can hover straight to this door, and it's beautiful. A few races ago, I went to go hover to that door, and I clicked the D-pad button for hovers, and then as I'm falling, I'm like, wait, I don't have hovers, do I? I'm just so used to it. You just click the D-pad. I just fell. And then, of course, like, we're probably not going to see it from these runners, but if you do fall, there's a block that shoots straight up and down and then falls. And you can use that block to void yourself to go back up to the door. So it's not as terrible of a time loss as it might seem. But it was hilarious just having that moment of clarity of just like, wait.
Oh, wait. I am falling.
Why am I falling? This doesn't make sense.
So Gav is full clearing Graveyard, which now they will eventually know, okay, it's Nocturne, and they will probably start thinking about the wallet logic. What Zephyr did get their key. It's just bomb shoes. You take the good with the bad with bomb shoes and big chests.
I love this game. One of the things that we had mentioned earlier is that SpeedGaming Live tried to adjust some of the settings to be a little bit more friendly to especially the in-person tournament, knowing that there's a limited amount of time that we've got to knock out a sizable amount of matches. And one of the quality of life changes that they added to speed it up is what we call free scarecrow. So typically speaking, you have to set a scarecrow as a child in Lake Hylia, and then you confirm that song as adult, which is pretty standard. However, the decision was made in order to help expedite seeds to just have it be free. So that way you don't have to visit it as a child and confirm it as adult to be able to use it, which is nice. I like that.
I mean, I can't say my motto here, but flip Pierre.
just fudging, mother fudging Pierre.
All right, so Zeph is continuing in fire again.
Mm-hmm.
They're in for a penny, in for a pound here. So Gav electing to not clear Child Spirit here. Now that they have that strength upgrade, they have Force Temple access available, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Probably, just to play.
Oh, well, never mind. We're going to see this.
The sky
because that was a drop.
That was a very large drop. Although there is,
there's the
this
block.
is the backup. So you lift the block up and you get crushed.
Yep, there it is.
Yep. And apparently I am solo calming currently.
Yeah. You've got Sponge's outer voice and you've got Sponge's inner voice.
I have such a range. It's almost like I'm two people.
Oh my god, it's wild. Oh, there I am. Hi, everyone. In case you're just joining us, I'm Doc Heaps. I'm the one who just showed up, apparently.
Alright, so Zephyr really wants to find the boss key up here. Because if the boss key is in that loop at the bottom and fire is not a dungeon you have to spend this much time in, that is a big feels bad.
So one of the things that I will do if I'm dipping fire, especially in Chest Size Matches Contents or CSMC, is I will actually peek the first that loop chest.
Oh, that's so bad. He can't get the boss key because he doesn't have the hammer.
Oh.
So he has to come all the way back up here again later. That's the worst luck possible.
And also didn't open up the shortcut in Fire Temple.
That is true.
Because he had seen earlier that the shortcut chest wasn't required, and so didn't open that up.
Oh man, that is very unfortunate. But again, that's the risk reward of coming into Fire Temple without the means to clear every check.
And this is the face that I was talking about on Gav's side, where you can see that Gav is going to jump on the larger face. Just makes it a little bit easier. And you can do it in the same amount of pulls. Doesn't affect that. Just hop up, hold to the right, away you go.
Yep.
Yeah, this is I think at this point Zephyr's just committed. He's like, nah, I've come this far. I'm full clearing.
The game has let me come this far, so I will.
And if I'm reading keys correctly, this should be out of logic without a small key or hover or hammer. No, you need hammer for this.
Logically,
yeah,
probably.
Because we're at 6 keys, which means that there's 7.
Just a small koi.
And 8 is hammer locked. And so that could not have been hammer.
I think Zeph is just realizing right now that they can't actually get the boss key. Oh, he's going back to open the shortcut.
Yep.
All right, this is good foresight. Or I guess they should be. It's a good decision because they know that they got to make the long climb in the future, and you want that shortcut opened up.
Yeah, and I appreciated the gamble, but God, was that Zephyr was making a big gamble.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about okay, because I don't really feel like in Zephyr's position that this was a gamble. Oh, I'm gonna go deep fire. I feel like this is just wallet way of the hero and possibly misinterpreting it as there has to be an item in fire. I feel like maybe it is possible. I don't remember exactly where the Shadow 2 hint is. It is possible that they don't have that hint. All right, they are gonna go Adult Spirit now. Personally, I would rather do Jabu first.
Yeah.
because it is progression. But then again, Jabu isn't like that big of a dungeon, so it's unlikely you're gonna find something you need in there. But you could, and
Yeah, I think I would be more inclined, especially they don't have a fire source. And so I would be more inclined to do Jabu into Child Spirit with possible climb. Because doing the Child Climb can bypass the fire requirements by doing some pretty neat tricks. Or we might just get key locked out here and have to do Child. Regardless, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what Spirit has and if fire source is even required at all.
all right, watch this. Look at that swag master. Everybody, round of applause. Internet points. The shield crouches.
God, I want to learn that trick. It looks so fun.
Well, he's got a key. He gets a small key for his efforts. So we continue in Spirit. After gotta take a boulder to the face first.
Which is hilarious, because when he's long-shotting, he takes so many boulders to the face and just shrugs it off. He's like, yeah, whatever.
I mean,
Can't
how
hurt
many
me.
times do you think Link bonks over the course of a seed?
I count how many times I bonk over the course of a seed.
I think a boulder is the least of Link's worries.
Oh, God. Could you imagine just like every X amount of bonks, Link just decides to stop moving. You have to reset.
Link loses max health for every bonk.
Fun little frame perfect trick that is available in the randomizer, where if you, for one frame, either hold the up button or for one frame hold the A button, either or works, but you just need it to be one frame. You let go of pushing the handle and can move around while the statue's moving.
Yeah, the time save adds up like a lot. I don't remember the exact number, but it saves a very substantial amount of time in Spirit Temple with all of the mirrors that exist.
So it's a fun little trick, and one that if you're hoping to be highly competitive, to practice, because Sponge is right, it can save you for a pretty nice amount of time.
I think I heard it's something along the lines of 6 seconds per mirror push or something like that. I don't know for sure, but it's definitely not insignificant.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, one of the ways that I think of Ocarina of Time Randomizer is my checks per, oftentimes I do checks per hour, checks per minute, and the more efficient you are, the more checks you can do per minute, per hour, and the more of the seed that you can do in the same amount of time as other runners. And so it's always something to, when you're talking about execution, it's one of the reasons why it's so important, is that it allows you to just do more checks in the same amount of time that other people are doing similar checks.
Yeah. No, it's definitely something that could just help you be more confident in your choices in a seed, knowing that you don't have to make the right choice to get a decent finish. So an interesting thing to think about here is that we do have at least 2 keys that are locked by fire or child. So if we do have a bunch of keys fire locked in Spirit, it tells us, depending on where Epona's is, if Shadow locks Epona, it tells us a lot about where Din's fire could be.
Yeah.
Like, we know that if we need Din's to get through Spirit via key logic, we know, we know that it's not going to be Storms locked for, things like that.
I feel like, don't we know where fire arrows are?
They are on horseback archery, which is why the location of Epona is important for key logic here.
The whole thing that you were trying to explain in the first place.
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, I'm here. I'm with you, Sponge. I'm up to speed. Because for a second I was like, why is he talking about Eponas? I was like, cool, Sponge. Yeah, I'm sure you have a point to the story.
Okay, I try. All right.
And there's key number 3. So that'll at least let Zephyr do the last few checks here in Spirit. Have we seen Bosky in Spirit?
I don't believe we have.
I don't think we have either.
What is Zephyr? I mean, Zephyr, you gotta do Jabu, right? After this?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's progression, it's required, like, you get to turn in the letter, so that way you can open up King Zora after Ice Cavern if you have to go there.
I mean, because what would your other option be? I mean, I guess technically you could GGG, but knowing that you have dungeons that you can do, you'd be real hard pressed to prioritize GGG over something like Jabu.
Yeah, I was surprised that Zephyr came in here first, to be honest, because if you really think about it, like, it would make sense if, like, doing Spirit would unlock access to Bottom of the Well, but you can't beat Shadow currently. Like, it's not like doing Spirit is going to make your child section any better currently.
All right, here's the ticket. Do we have Bosky? We don't.
So it is on the child side, or in one of the Firelock checks.
So what you're going to do is you're still going to see Zephyr go ahead and complete this loop. And the reason why is once you have lowered the gate, like lowered the platform and melted the face, that saves. And so you can always come back and hookshot these chains and go to the boss from there. But if you skip doing this, then you have to climb all the way back up to the top of Spirit, do the whole push the mirrors in order to get back here. So if you're going to do the climb and you have Mirror Shield, just go ahead and melt the face and save it at this point.
Oh, we're actually going to sync up here. Wait, does that have? I think... Yeah, he didn't realize he was the boss. Okay.
I was like,
brain,
wait,
everybody.
Sponge, did we miss something?
Yeah, I second guessed myself for a second, but we're actually going to sync up here, which is pretty cool. Gaborone and Zephyr, I assume, are both heading to the same place, which is Jabu.
Yeah.
I see Bomb Shoes, I see Letter, I see Boomerang. So let's take a look at our current position. We have our runners synced up, pretty much. So here's our current position. Zephyr has done all of Adult Spirit and a lot of Fire Temple, but has to walk all the way back up Fire to get Bosky. Gaborone has done all of GTG. So those are kind of the edge on checks right there, because it's possible to assume that Zephyr will end up in GTG at some point. I don't think that Gav is going to end up in like having to double dip Fire, though. I mean, you never know the way things could go, but
all right. The other thing that Gav has is while Deku is a fast dungeon, it is still Deku. I mean, that's still, when you include the time to walk out there, the time to do it, it's still, 4 or 5 minutes that Gav has if Song of Storms is required. If it's not, then that is just strictly time lost. But if Song of Storms is required, at least that is a little bit that Gav has on Zephyr.
Yeah. So that's where we currently stand right now. So it's hard to say who's in the lead currently. If I was to make an educated guess, I would say probably Gav. But just because Zephyr having to walk back through Fire and things like that, and GTG is such a dense location that I can definitely see Zephyr going there eventually, and it's looking like Storms is probably going to be required this seed, because we have both Nocturne and Requiem Way of the Hero. So I'm leaning more towards Gav. He already has Deku done, but that doesn't mean that Zephyr can't catch up.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Yeah. And it's funny because I actually had Zephyr a little bit in the lead, just knowing that yes has to double dip Force, but with both of them being tied, Zephyr having double dip Fire, but Zephyr having basically all of Fire cleared, having most of Spirit cleared, and Deku being the easier dungeon. As long as they avoid GGG, I think they might be slightly in the lead. If they go GGG, all bets are off. I think Gab very much has the lead. But I don't know. It's gonna be. It's really gonna come down to some of these last few items and where they end up being.
All right, there's that second market way hero that if Gav had found that earlier, if Gav had rushed to Ice Cavern, he would have known. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. I just laugh. Oh, there's the fishing hint. Hello. I laugh because I think I would have done River during the first X minutes of the game because 3 hints is just so valuable early on. Hints will slowly lose value as the seed goes on. So the more information that you get early from hints, the more valuable it can be in routing. And I think 3 hints just so easily accessible is so valuable in those first X amount of minutes that I think I would have been inclined to have gone up River in my first push.
Is that a Fountain Baron? Yes, please read that again. That is a Fountain Baron. You see, I would have gone River early too, with that milk bottle. Okay, last one, I swear.
Then
we have both our runners. They're covering each other's ground. We've got Gab doing domain checks. You know, us cons like to have some fun from time to time.
Oh, do we? Is it fun? And that just, again, if you don't understand the joke, it all comes back to the fact that with the most recent trick that was discovered of being able to skip King Zora without the use of glitches or out of bounds, means that with just any bottle that you've got and access to Zora's domain, i.e. Zelda's Lullaby or Hover Boots, you're in ice. And that's a free song in addition to a number of checks. And so it's a very strong play, knowing you don't have to turn a letter to do so now anymore.
Yeah, it's sort of become like a topic of discussion for the current meta. I'm not going to get into it, but But yeah, I expect to see these 2 runners going through Jabu here. We're going to get a nice little foot race. Zephyr is going to get a bit of a late start, but
yeah, and I think this will be a nice little. I mean, Gav is going to be in the lead going in, but I think this is going to be a nice little showcase of execution to see if Gav can keep that lead, if Zephyr can pick up some lost ground, because we're going to really have a nice close side-by-side. I mean, maybe a minute and change apart from each other walking into Jabu.
Yeah, I'll keep a timer on the side. So I think we got nothing in domain. We know Fountain is foolish. So we'll probably see Zephyr do Child Spirit after Jabu. I wonder if...
And we're actually seeing 2 different ways of approaching Zora's domain. Gav doing the hop down the stairs, flame storage, do the rupees, then light the torches. Whereas Zephyr elected to go with do the flame storage, start the game, light the torches, then do the diving. So pretty nice showcase of both ways that are available to do this efficiently. Or you can just do it the old school way, not do flame storage and run up and down 4 times.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do what you gotta do.
I mean, I know some top runners who used to do it that way for a very long time, so it's not the worst play.
All right, so let's take a look at our situation here. So let's take a bit of a snapshot of the seed, as you will, while we have our runners in Jabu. So remaining in the seed, we've got Ice Cavern. We got some Strength 2 lock checks in GTG, some Fire locked stuff in Spirit and Child Spirit. I don't believe we've seen Shoot the Sun. Big Pose is still hanging out. We got Castle Fairy, Chickens 20. We haven't peaked we haven't even been to Child Lake yet, but we know that Child Fishing is dead. Skull Kid and Sling Target. So that's our snapshot right now. Something, whether it be Din's Fire or Hammer or maybe even, I don't know, taking a quick look, like Strength 3, has to be in one of those checks to open it up.
Yeah, which is why I think that if Zephyr doesn't find anything in the next few minutes, beating Jabu, possibly doing Child Spirit, I think that GTG is going to be their next play. And I think it's going to, unless Strength 2 GTG has something, I think it's going to be a pretty sore time sink based off of what we've seen with Gaborone.
Yeah, because we know that I think there was 1 or 2 keys missing from the center. Did Gav have exactly enough keys to get to the center?
Yep, had exactly 7 keys.
All right, so there's, 5 checks left because we didn't see the toilet? So there's 5 checks left. 2 of them have got to be keys. Oh, but Jabu, question mark.
But Jabu. Ah.
That's bow locked. Wait, is that a Way of the Hero bow in Windmill in CAC? Question mark?
No, because can you get to the Forest Temple bow without a bow?
It depends on the key layout.
Depends on the keys, and that's what I was thinking. I don't remember.
I don't remember Forest keys.
You think I'm paying attention that much? Hell nah.
I forgot the time when Zephyr entered Jabu, so I...
Look, we're just having too much fun. Come on, Jabu. Slow down.
Alright, this is Din's. Calling it.
Nope. It's another slingshot. Of course. Look, Sponge, I told you, anytime you want it to be an item, it's another slingshot.
I am so good at speaking items into existence. Or in this case, speaking slingshots into existence.
I'm really good at pulling slingshots. I'm like, I'm one item from what we would call go mode, aka like, I can beat the seed now. I have nothing left to pick up. You'll oftentimes hear called go mode, and I am the king at pulling slingshots in go mode.
So that is logical sling at this point. So we do not need to find Hammer in order to beat Deku anymore.
And I think this speaks to one of the things that Sponge was saying earlier. You know, it's unfortunate that these items ended up being things that we either already had or didn't need, aka bow and slingshot. But that said, like, we know that we have to do Jabu this seed. Like, we are 100%, you gotta do Jabu. What we don't, we gotta do Jubo, okay? We gotta beat Budanade. But what we don't know is if we have to do Spirit. And so, you know, there's when you're talking about routing, you can never go wrong by doing locations that you have to do. And then doing locations that are highly suspect after that.
Yeah, I think that's why Gav like immediately picked up the Boomerang in Forest and like immediately went Child, whereas Zephyr wanted to check places that were potentially logically relevant first. I do think that based on hints, we know the seed logically requires us to do Spirit for some reason. All I can hope for is that we need storms.
Well, and I think the interesting thing is that we know that it's Requiem, right? Well,
we as a collective do. I'm not sure if Zephyr does, but
well, what I was going to say is when you're talking about Spirit, it's more than just Spirit. It's the fact that we have Longshot Lens magic. So we can get to Spirit. It's Requiem that's important. And so that's either Child Spirit or the Arch, which we know the Arch isn't anything. So it's Child Spirit. And whether that be just because it's logical, because of a key or boss key or some item in Child Spirit, That's where I think things get a little bit interesting, is that we have everything that we need to get to Spirit. So why Requiem in particular?
Yeah, I'm highly suspecting that Storms is required in this seed. Yo,
Ooh.
okay, so can we talk about that little skip right there that Gab just did?
That was beautiful.
So that's called box skip. It is a frame perfect trick that if you're a cool person, you hold up and A after you step on that switch, and you can open the door and you have one frame to get that door open before it closes on you. So you got to be quick, but that is the cool peep strat.
And it
You do
is.
that, you're in the cool kids club.
Sadly, I'm not in the cool kids club.
That's okay. You could be in the less cool kids club.
No, thanks, bro. I appreciate.
It's still cool, but it's not as cool.
it's just objectively worse.
All right, are we gonna get a nice squeaky, bubbly smooth Baronade? Oh, we got hit right at the end.
You had to say something, even though this happened 15 minutes ago.
All right, it was a good Baronade. Good Baronade.
It was a great Baronade. I think everything up until the last hit was squeaky clean. So I think Gav still gets a good seal of approval. Oh, baby!
Zeph is not gonna feel great about that. They
They
knew that this whole time they had the option of Jabu, but decided to go for the density, and it definitely feels as though this seed is going on a straight line from here. Now it's a clear-cut line for Gav. He's going to hit Shadow Temple as adult.
But does Gav do Child Spirit? Yes.
I think that knowing that Requiem is Way of the Hero, I think that it would be unwise to not do Child Spirit here in their position.
Zeph, thank you for doing my strat. for redeeming me.
All right, I'll make a note here. Zephyr, less cool kids club.
Just calling him out. Oh, God. Sorry that we are not all as cool as you, Sponge.
That's okay. I'm not that cool.
Yeah, I think this is really smart from Gav. It's 2 checks. They're fast checks. And if by any chance Child was required, having to play Prelude, having to come back, having to play Prelude again, it's just such a time investment. You just knock it out.
That stinks.
Yeah, and especially with can Zephyr get the backup?
Oh man.
It's not looking like it. So one of the backups, you can look right there. There it is. So what you do is, instead of Z targeting, which is going to hit those satellites that are spinning around, what you want to do is you want to aim slightly up so you bypass the satellites but still hit Baronade. And it's a good backup if you miss that second phase of satellites to be able to end the phase sooner without having to wait for the satellites to reverse direction the other way. So it's a good thing to know in the off chance that something happens and you don't get that quick cycle on the second phase.
Nice little cutscene skip from Gav there. If you do a backflip at the same frame that you shoot a slingshot bullet, you'll void out the at around the same time that little Anubis dies.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to skip a little door opening cutscene. Alright, now that Gav's got a fire source, they are not going to do the firelock checks as Child. They're going to do them as adult if they so choose. But I expect to see a Shadow Temple here from Gav. Zephyr, they committed to Adult Spirit, so I would be surprised if they don't do Child Spirit. They do not have the Fountain Foolish, so they are going to check this.
Wasn't Fountain Foolish just right there?
It was in Domain. Maybe they have it and they just forgot.
Oh, they were checking the hint.
I mean, Zephyr has made a habit out of forgetting foolishness.
And this is Deku.
Okay, yeah, they just want to check the hint.
Mm-hmm. And that was my question: is Zephyr going to do Deku? And I think now that you have Din's Fire, Deku super free.
I'm interested because he doesn't, as far as we know, I don't know, I could have missed something. He doesn't have Requiem Way of the Hero, and I mean, he knows Nocturne's required, but it could just be for something in Shadow. Also, Gav is doing Spirit first. I would have thought Shadow first.
I would have done Shadow first.
I guess here's how you can kind of justify it. Gav knows that the wallet is Way of the Hero for sure, but he also knows that Requiem is Way of the Hero for sure.
No. Gav knows that Wallet is not Way of the Hero because they have the Goron tunic.
Oh yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so he has a tunic. So I mean, he knows it's Nocturne. I guess it's just a matter of preference.
Yeah, I think I would have done Shadow first, because I feel like that clarity of Nocturne being Way of the Hero, and the fact that you can full clear it, high density, that would have been my pick. But I don't think this is a wrong play either. Also, I think I just like Shadow more than Spirit, so...
Shadow is a cool dungeon.
Shadow's great.
I wish I didn't have to do it at 3 hours every season.
And it's funny you mentioned that. You get those seeds every once in a blue moon where you are full clearing Shadow at like hour and change, and you're like, what is happening? Like, how am I in Shadow and it's not even the hour mark? Like, what in my life got me to this point?
So...
Oh, Zeph going for a different B1 skip than what Gav did.
Yeah, that is called the Sundere skip. And it is faster than the normal B1 skip setup. But it is way more precise. So if he had gotten it, I would have given him more coolness points.
And the other thing that makes it nice is, well, not that one. Is it that one that keyboard players do? I think that's also the keyboard player skip. Because
I am not well versed in the way of the keyboard.
There are a few very talented Ocarina of Time runners who, and I don't know how they do this, truly, genuinely, will play Ocarina of Time Randomizer on a keyboard with very good success. And they're amazing, except for they can't actually activate see up and look. And so they have to do workarounds for any trick that involves see up, which the classic basement 1 or B1 skip usually does. And so they will do a setup very similar to what Zephyr tried as their backup or alternative.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, there's a pretty good chance that Requiem is Way of the Hero here, but I haven't really been considering Crater Fairy. There is the possibility that it's just Shadow equals Hammer equals required item on Crater Fairy.
And I think that's why I would push Shadow. Because I feel like it's a little bit more clear of a direction.
I mean, even without knowing that, even without even thinking of that information, I still think maybe doing Shadow first is a little bit better than Spirit. Just because Nocturne leads to like literally one thing, whereas Requiem, like you're gonna have to do, like, what if it's just Epona for Big Poe behind Shadow, like.
Has Zephyr not done this check yet? Amazing. I'm here. Oh,
no way.
I'm here for this.
No way.
Oh, beautiful. That's a chef's kiss right there.
I mean, they did Mido's house as an adult. Deku was foolish. They had no reason to come over here.
Nope. Oh, bless.
Yeah, so there's a child spirit check from Zephyr. So, I guess in trying to think about which of these runners kind of has the advantage here, is that Zephyr is going to have a quicker way through fire on the Redux, whereas Gavaroni has already done GTG. So if the straight line from here is storms into the well, into Iron Boots, into Water Temple, into Get Light Arrow Hint, then I think Zephyr has the advantage because he's not going to end up going with the GTG at all. And they're going to have a faster way through fire. And he's already done most of Spirit. So...
And that's why I was thinking when we were talking about this in Zor's River, as long as Zephyr avoids a GTG, I think they might be in the lead. But that is such an attractive play.
Yeah, I think Zephyr, by doing Deku in their last child, in their current child segment, they're committing, like, I'm going adult, I'm gonna kill Twinrova, and I'm gonna go kill Bongo. Like, I don't see any scenario. That is a big chest.
Oh, this could be bad.
On the worst check in the dungeon.
For reals.
And...
No! I love how we're both just speechless here.
I'm thinking about, like, okay, so we have Requiem. So we need Requiem to get the hammer because there's a key.
There's keys.
So then why is it really just light arrows in the well?
Or Iron Boots are just in shadow. We're done.
Yeah. So...
And that's just the interesting thing, is that we might not need well. Even though it seemed like that was the direction. Gav going straight back to the ferry here.
Yeah, no, I would check this burst immediately as well.
Straight into fire. Yep.
Yeah, I guess hammer isn't Requiem locked.
Because
of magic and Din's being available, because you get one key adult side, one key in the map chest. He's in fire.
Yeah, no, you're right. You can access it from either side, adult or child.
So we know that, like, defeating Twinrova is hard required, though.
Yeah, has to be. Because it was Requiem, and we can cross with Longshot Lens magic.
Yeah, so we're basically going to be following one another. Zephyr is going to get that hammer. I wonder if Zephyr continues to kill Twinrova.
I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to bail.
I mean...
Nope, this is a kill... Oh, no. No, honey, no. My heart.
You okay?
No. Zephyr's orphaning the one check that they need in spirit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. That's why I'm crying on the inside.
That's a run ender.
Yeah, because you are committing to last location in that. Or at the least, doing it very late.
And the worst part is that killing Twinrova is required in some capacity. No, I honestly... Oh, he has... I can't tell. Is his magic bar black, or does he have no magic?
Oh, does he have no magic?
It looks like it's no magic. Yeah, it's
no magic.
You could see through it. It's no magic. So...
Shoot.
Oh, no.
Which is oftentimes, if I walk into Spirit Temple without magic, or low on magic, as you're walking up the stairs, there's these two big statues that have text on them. In between the stairs and the statue on the right is a big magic pot. You can actually grab that magic pot and then continue rightwards, and using the statue with text, jump up to where the silver block push is. And so it's something that I often grab and will look at as I'm walking in the spirit is, how is my magic? Do I need to pick up this pot or not?
That can be really, really bad. I mean, because look, I've seen this happen before where peeps are like, man, torch puzzle stinks, I'm not gonna do that check, and like they'll skip it with magic. Like, it's entirely reasonable that Zeph is just thinking like, hey, I did Deku, I'm gonna defeat Twin Rova, and I'm gonna go straight to Shadow. I mean, but they need magic to get into Shadow, so it's like,
oh, Twin
maybe
Rova.
they get
behave yourself.
RNG. But I'm thinking like maybe, because I mean Zephyr has to get a form of magic here to either do the torch puzzle or to go to Shadow. But it's like, if you do the magic, are you really going to go back into Spirit just to do torch puzzle and to then scum the magic? Like,
no, I would GGG in a heartbeat. Like, there's so many other higher density locations that I would rather do over one check that not only takes a while to get to, but just takes a while to do.
well, I mean, he's going to do Shadow first.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, how do I prioritize that chest over so many other locations?
Yeah.
Shadow, GTG, bottom of the well, like...
Look, I hope for Zephyr's sake that they find a way or a reason to go back for that. But I know in the past that there are a lot of top runners who will skip that check for no reason. Like
Yeah.
So Gav's heading their way through fire, and I really hope that Zephyr can find it somewhere.
Now, did that hammer loop actually have any small keys? I don't think it did.
I don't believe so, because Gav has no keys, and I think that's the same amount that Zephyr had while climbing.
So Volvagia is gonna have a small key then, because we were one key short when we watched Zephyr do the entire climb and clean.
Okay.
So
GTG is maybe this could be, because does a fairy refill your magic? I don't.
Yes, it does.
So maybe this is Colossus Fairy into Shadow?
I think that checks out.
Yeah, but the problem is that's not Torch Puzzle.
Really, Sponge? No shizzle.
Alright, Zeph.
There it is.
Yeah, there's Shadow. This is
I laugh and partially cry because I think all of us have been there where we're like, it is one check. What are the odds that this one check has the one item that I need? I am okay skipping this one singular check.
Yeah.
And then it's literally the item you need.
I mean, the worst part about it is that due to the qual format, like, if you get 3 great races, you just stop playing. Because, like, a 4th race is just going to kill your best score. So, like, if this ends up being, like, a last location for Zephyr, that's, like, that might force them into, like, the, okay, I gotta do 5 races category. Like, that could really up the pressure in some of their later races. So there's a lot of, like, what's it called? Like the domino effect that could go on as a result of missing that check. That's what makes it so unfortunate. If Zeph like leaves the check off for a while, for all we know, they could get the Requiem hint later on and say, "Oh, Requiem's way to hero." Like, let me go clear that, like, for whatever reason. I don't personally see it, but I mean, you never know. But like, that's the part that's like the saddest for it on my end, is that like there's gonna be that could potentially domino effect into their later quals as well.
Yep. And you're right. It's a difference between like this is their first qual versus like if this was their third or fourth qual. But you never want to. Yeah, I don't know. It's heartbreaking and it's relatable. I think anyone who's done a randomizer has been in Zeph's shoes, and so all of us just have an abundance of empathy.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's really unfortunate currently. Like, things could change, you never know. But as of right now, it's looking like that's going to be kind of one of the last places Zephyr is going to look.
Mm-hmm. And glistening in the background is the music that's playing as Zephyr's fighting Dead Hand, and it's the Lost Woods theme, and I'm like, oh, this is cute. Nice and cheery.
Alright, so where is... Yeah, so we're going to get Shadow from Zeph while Gav's climbing fire. We know that Gav's going to have to go the whole way. We know our boss key is on 420 Goron. And the... Oh, I should have been timing. Damn it. I forgot again.
Sponge, you had one job, man.
I'm like, I'm going to time dungeon execution. I'm having so much fun that I just can't...
Okay, stop laughing, Sponge. This is not, we're not having fun here. This is work. This is our 9 to 5.
Yeah, let's pair Sponge with Dock Heaps. That'll really make him work.
Oh yeah. Just don't make me play against Sponge. Not that kind of pair. Well, there's your ice cavern for you, Sponge. Blue fire in Shadow Temple.
All right. So if you're Gav, is there a possibility that you misread the logic and go Ganon tier? Not with a Nocturne Way the hero, I think.
Well, that's a fun little ground jump.
Yeah, you can ground jump onto this pole here and hover on over to this switch. And that allows you to get to that Song of Time block with the hover boots without needing to go through the maze or play Song of Time to get up there.
Oh, that's cute. Ask me if I've ever done it before. The answer is I didn't even know it existed until now, so nope!
Yeah, I know it exists, but I never have the wherewithal to actually remember and erase, oh yeah, I can do this.
Yeah. And there's boss key for Gav, so Gav's just gonna go ahead and rush. We're gonna see, if you've never seen Fast Volvagia before, you're in for a treat, because we get to do some pretty nifty things in defeating Volvagia here, in a way that's much faster than you've probably ever seen before.
Yeah, we're about to exploit some very generous hitboxes.
That's one word for it. I'd say janky and possibly forgotten, but Sponge is right though. Volvagia is still vulnerable from this cutscene, and so you'll see as Volvagia dives down, where Volvagia enters into this hole is still an active hitbox. And so by some pretty specific bomb placement, you can still be damaging Volvagia, even though Volvagia's active form is coming up and down.
Yeah, so we see Gav dropping bombs in this corner of this very specific hole, and every bomb is doing a certain amount, I don't remember the exact amount, a certain amount of damage. Oh, that's unfortunate. He accidentally hit the button for bomb instead of hammer, although it's fine. As long as he gets that restun.
And so it's going to try to get a little bit of last second damage, but the second Volvagia goes flying, that hitbox is no longer active. And so Gav is just going to have to take this fight as it comes now. But it was a good first phase. And one of the things that I was going to mention is that you'll watch Gavaroni had put like 1 bomb, hit Volvagia, 3 bombs, hit Volvagia. And it all has to deal with trying to do just enough damage to keep Volvagia moving without having to do too much or too little that sends Volvagia into these flying phases.
Fortunately, I think that one of the bombs might have not been positioned correctly, and that threw off the damage value, so that when he re-stunned Volvagia the second time, there wasn't enough. There was either too much or too little damage, so Volvagia did a fly cycle instead of just staying there. This will be the end of the fight for sure. He's definitely done enough damage.
Yep. So with Master Sword, it is 7. It is 7 bombs. With Big Goron Sword, you only need 5. So you have a little bit of flexibility if you miss a bomb or two to still be able to pull off the strat.
You need to add 2 to both of those.
For what?
Oh, it is 7 bombs. I got you.
Yeah, 7 bombs, 7 and 5. But if you're right, if you're doing bomb choose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, bomb choose is a totally different strat where you can like skip hammers and it's really cool. But yeah, with bomb choose, it's 7, it's 9 and 7 respectively.
Yeah, my bad.
Nah, you good. You good.
You sure?
No. Figure your shizzle out, okay?
All right. So I wonder. The old accidental side hop. Okay, so there's a reason that Zeph is opening that door with this camera turned that way.
I was gonna mention it, but go for it. It's really cool.
Hey, you got the last one. So this room is actually really cool in that the room loads differently depending on how Link is looking when you open the door with the key on it. So if you're looking straight, the room loads faster, and that gives you less time. The fans will start spinning earlier. But if you go through that door looking to the left, it actually makes the room load slower, or parts of the room load later. So you actually have more time to do that little strat that Zeph just did, where you hop through the room and back walk with the hover boots. So it makes it easier to get through that room without getting hit by stuff.
And it's so swaggy. Not only is it an incredible time save, like it saves a stunning amount of time, but also it just looks cool, and so you get a save time and look cool doing it, and like that's the best kind of trick in my opinion.
You get extra coolness points, and that's worth so much.
Yeah, you get the swag, and also you get to save an ungodly amount of time. So,
look, the time save comes second.
Truly. Do you know how many tricks I do that save like a quarter of a second, but if I fail them, they lose me like 30 to 40 seconds? It's an ungodly amount, and I do them anyway because they look cool.
All right, so Gav coming into shadow behind Zeph. Zeph over at the boat. Gav just starting. So if Gav finds nothing here in shadow, that's gonna just point him even more that okay, like I gotta go kill Tunrova here.
Yep. So you'll see that Gav went for a jump slash strat on Dead Hand, which with Master Sword, there's an alternative option where you can do it with the charge spin. It does require 2 charge spins with Master Sword, so it is technically faster. But the charge spins is a hell of a lot more consistent than the jump slash. So if you are struggling a little bit with your technique, doing 2 power crouch stabs followed by 2 charge spins with Master Sword is a very free way to get Dead Hand 1 cycle.
Yeah, that's kind of the preferred way for myself to do it, is just make it so he doesn't go back into the ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm just lazy, so I just do the charge spin because it's easy and it's free. I'm like, look, I don't want to execute. I'm just gonna hold the B button and it's gonna do everything for me.
Oh, he didn't get that sword slash. The extended hitbox on the sword. If you get frozen in midair.
Yeah. That's always a feels bad moment when you're like midair and the Gib does like, you know what? No, I'm not actually gonna give this to you. And you're like, what? How is this fair?
All right, so you gotta figure that Zeph is gonna chase Storm's checks after this. Get whatever is logically Storm's locked, i.e., like light arrows or iron boots. Something we need is locked behind Storms. But then after that, it's like, all right, you get iron boots and then you go into water, but then what?
And that's where I think GGG is just the next logical play. I mean, you've got everything that you need for it. It's high density. It's easily accessible.
I mean, and then Ganon's enters the picture as well. Actually, no, not Ganon's. I think my dungeon rewards.
Yeah, but I wonder if Zeph is going to do things like full clear water, consider doing ice. I think there's a lot of options available to Zeph in this moment of good density or trying to follow a previous way of the heroes that might push them in some undesirable locations.
I don't know. I feel like that torch puzzle is like the least desirable location. Like even chickens is better because it's one chicken. Like I'm looking at what checks we have left, and it's like child cleanup is a nice bunch of checks. Like obviously we got ice, GTG. Zeph's already full cleared fire. Like, so he doesn't have any more to do in that. Like, yeah, I think we might see like just everything in the game before
just everything
except Ganon's, because he won't have access. But
yeah,
I would be very interested to see Ganon's castle without strength 3. If strength 3 is in the well, then
yeah, and especially with Nocturne being required and not finding anything in Shadow, I think if there's any question about whether Requiem was pointing towards well or not, I think that really confirms it.
Hey, I mean, it could be Kokiri Storm's Grotto, for all we know.
Yeah, okay. You
semantics.
I mean, you're right though, and I don't like it.
Yo, hang on. Did Zeph just try and do a really cool strat? I missed it. Did he run up on that grave and try and gain her over the fence?
I missed it because I wanted to watch Gav die. Dang it!
Yeah.
Because I'm mean like that. I mean, I love you, Gav. Also, great little double grab there of the rupees.
Yeah, I gotta say, in terms of execution, I haven't really seen that many like crazy errors. I mean, Gav died in Crater. That's just like one small issue.
And even then, I wouldn't even blame Gav on that one. I think that was just janky hitboxes that decided to work against him, because his timing actually was spot on.
Yeah, just couldn't get in the hole.
Yep.
So yeah, both of them playing really well. It's just like the looming dark cloud over this scene. Will Zephyr somehow morphic field theory their way into
just
torch puzzle?
Just read within the ethos of like, shoot, I forgot to do torch puzzle. Maybe I should go do that. Just everyone send Zephyr good vibes. Don't send Zephyr the location, but just send good vibes about the location.
Yeah, so now Zeph's child definitely gonna go for their storm stuff. We're gonna hit this fairy first.
I think that's fair. I think when you're missing 3 items, being a little bit more thorough is appropriate.
Yeah, you could definitely reasonably assume you're gonna find one of them. And you know that there's nothing in Deep Fire, so the hammer gets you a whopping 1 check. But it does open up Ganon's castle, so I mean, you can make an argument that you should just rush your storms checks, honestly.
And that's exactly what we're seeing. The real question is that, so speaking of chickens, the Anju, the lady with the cuckoos who can't ever seem to hold on to them, whether, for her life depend on it, normally has 7 cuckoos throughout Kakariko that she expects you to collect. For SpeedGaming Live or SGL, they only expect you to collect 3. So you can pick whatever favorite 3 cuckoos you want, turn those in. You can do this kind of southern portion, you can do the northern portion. It's got a dealer's choice, but 3 is a pretty fast amount and gives you a lot of routing options for how you want to do those chickens or cuckoos.
Oh, I'm dumb. I said 1 earlier.
Oh my god. I thought about correcting you, but then I just forgot and moved on with my life.
You should have. Give me that face slap. That verbal face slap.
Just,
wake up, Sponge.
Come on, Sponge. It's what, 12:27 in the afternoon for you? I expect better.
So while we have a moment, while Zeph is entering the well, let's give a nice shout out to our our trackers. My bad, Myra and Melqui, doing the Lord's work.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we had to both speak and commentate,
two very different skills. Two very
we had to
different
both
skills.
commentate and track, it would be very difficult.
Well, and I think, speaking of Mira or Miraba, she and Star are actually the 2 people who have been behind the scenes putting this all together. So I think in a special, and a special amount of thanks and shout out should go to those 2 for just even making this tournament happen in the first place.
Yeah, the real MVPs.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing me to speak while I commentate.
I'd say I'm at a loss of words, but that means that I couldn't speak nor commentate. The fact that y'all are watching this, shout outs to viewers like you. We're adults. Oh my god.
My goodness.
Nothing well so far. Fun little boomerang strat here. Line it up on the side, throw it some side hops to make sure that the boomerang flies to the left and not the right. Quick nab.
Yeah, if you've already got the boomerang equipped, that's a nice little time save you can do. I think it's between peeking the item and I think it's even if you peek the item and it's not required versus using the boomerang, equipping it. Still nothing here in the well. There's only 4 checks left. We got Dead Hand, the invisible chest in here, and the one in the key lock door and the basement.
So now, Gav's gonna go straight to bottom of the well. I mean, almost certainly.
Yeah, another thing to consider for Gav, I remembered this 3 separate times throughout the seed, but forgot to say anything about it, is that big chest chilling over in Valley Hammer Rocks that that Gaberoni knows about. I wonder if that ever comes into play.
It's just another slingshot, right?
Well, I mean, now that you mention it, I was about to be like, yo, what if that's our light arrows? But now it's going to be slingshot number 3. Thanks, Doc.
You're welcome. Because of course it is. Look, it's been on your mind for the last 2 hours. Not 2 hours, for the last like hour and change. You've been sitting here thinking, I have a big chest that's hammerlocked in a dumb location that I can't get back to. What if it's my blah? What if it's my irons? What if it's my light arrows? You finally route back in there and it's like Furor's Wind. And you're like, wow, you know, could have used this 2 hours ago, but glad I went out of my way to get it. Or at least that's what usually happens with me. So maybe that's just some of my bitterness that I'm just projecting here. Wow, still nothing. I will say that is a nice, satisfying jump slash there. Where you're angry and you're like, you know what? I didn't get anything from Dead Hand, but I still have a broken stick, so take this, Skull.
I mean, Zeph also only has 2 nuts, and you're definitely going to want to use one of the nuts here behind this locked door, so... Yeah, it's good to do pose here, because Epona locked by Shadow.
Yep.
Just, like, uber confirming. I guess, like, maybe Gav is still... Maybe Requiem is way the hero for the hammer.
Oh, wait. Gav hasn't beaten Spirit. What are we talking about?
Like, Iron Boots... Oh, yeah, Gav hasn't beaten Spirit yet, but I assume that they're about to go beat Spirit.
Totally.
They know that Big Pose is dead. Yeah.
Yep.
Alright, so there are the Iron Boots, so I assume that Zeph... Maybe he's gonna do some cleanup here.
I think that's fair. Because water is only going to net you 4 items at best. And doesn't... Well, 5 if you include the light arrow cutscene, which... No, actually, no, that's a boss key. That is the boss key for Ganon's Castle. So, Iron Boots, by means of water, is only going to net you 4 items at best. And doesn't give you access to Ganon's Castle. So, I can see, like, if I'm going to play Density... Let me look at some of these child checks to try to find my last item versus gambling water. So I can see that.
On the other hand, I guess this is... The only thing I can think of personally is that this route is just like, alright, I'm going to get Kokiri Storms, and I'm going to get any checks along the way, because, like, Zephyr has got all of GTG to do. Yeah, this is just like, go for Kokiri Storms. But I mean, if you're here, you might as well check Skull Kid and Target.
They did that. They did that already. They did that.
They did them? Okay.
Yeah. They did that on their way to Deku.
Okay, so I just forgot to mark those down. All right, my bad.
Yeah, because they did the long adult netted them all the items that they needed to full clear Lost Woods.
Ah, I see. Did Zephyr pick up Ocarina of Time song?
They can't. They don't have.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Fire
I haven't beaten Fire.
Yep.
My bad. Again.
Wake up, Sponge. I was about to say, do I need to get you another thing of coffee? Like, what do we need here, buddy?
I think I need another energy drink. It's been very long since I last slept.
Do you need a Monster? Do you need what can I send you, buddy?
I might need several monsters at this rate. If Zeph last location's torch puzzle, I may need a big monster.
No, we might be here for a hot second.
Send him your consciousness. Hurry.
Ooh. So what Gav went for there, and I think it's one of my favorite new strategies, is going through the door. You roll forward, you Z-target onto that pot that's flying at your face, and you side hop to the left. And Link, while he's flying through the air, somehow miraculously is able to use physics, which doesn't work this way, to turn his body to the right, and in doing so catches the light and is able to activate that sun switch all in one swoop. And so it not only saves time, but looks swaggy, which is the definition of my favorite tricks.
Coolness points. Coolness points. I wanna host an event once where you play a seed, but you're not judged on how fast you finish the seed, but on how cool you are while doing it.
I'm here for this. I think one of my favorites, and you're a pro at this strat, and I envy you because I just need to sit down and learn it, and I haven't. In Child Spirit, in the Child Climb, using Choose to not only hit the switch, but to hit the spider on the wall to open up the light there.
Yeah.
Is cool, swaggy, saves time. Like it takes all the boxes. It saves so much time. And looks so cool because all of a sudden, you're like, why is he throwing bomb shoes? Like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden it goes bing, switch, bing, light, and you're like, oh, that was cool.
All right. Zeph's making their way to water. Gav is having much better RNG on their rover fight than Zeph did. It's been 3 clean shots to this point, although this is going to prove to be a challenging angle.
Ooh, just in the nick of time.
Use it. Spin them around.
Come on. There we go.
Twinrova can sometimes do some weird stuff where they're like, my RNG determines I'm going to fly around, even though you've already hit Twinrova 4 times with the beam. So you just give them a little motivation with your hook shot. They'll spin around, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to go to phase 2 now.
Before I learned that you could interrupt that RNG with a hook shot.
Oh, no.
Oh.
That's a pretty significant time loss.
Yeah. If that does happen, you want to skip. They had already gotten one. Never mind.
Yeah, so
if it happens on the first
wait
one,
for 3 shots.
Yeah, if it happens on the first one, skip that current element, go on to the next element. Because Twinrova on her first time going through these elemental cycles will always do 3 in a row, 3 ice in a row, 3 fire in a row until you damage her. And once you've damaged her, then she starts to do random.
Oh no, you got the regular slash in there. I think he's gonna have to do another cycle now.
Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna have to do a whole other cycle. Yeah, I imagine it's been a rough go of it for Gav on bosses today. Didn't really have the best Volvagia. Kind of got beat up a bit by Baronade, although not that bad. This hasn't been a very great boss fight, and now he's got to deal with the RNG of just random shots.
Which means that Twinrova is going to throw 7 ices before another fire.
Yep, absolutely.
And now, Gav has got to be ready. Oh, okay, that wasn't terrible. It's like, because Gav has to be ready.
Oh, it's another slash.
Yeah, and so I think one of the things to point out as we're talking about this race here, this is a qualifier for the SpeedGaming Live 2022 online Ocarina of Time Randomizer tournament. So while Gav is ahead of, but for all intents and purposes, ahead of Zephyr, there are still, 15 other runners that are currently racing against each other. And so you've always got that in the back of your mind as well of, not only is this, how am I doing against this opponent that's on Restream, but how am I doing compared to whoever is going to be the best runner of this qual? And it can be a pretty sizable amount.
You got some pretty scary peeps like Fabio, Cariosa. They're running this race. Cariosa, the Season 5 standard tournament champion. So it's one of those situations where you know that Like, if you make one mistake, like, that's fine. You make you make some execution mistakes, it's okay, but everything's gonna add up, and it's just the fact that you want to score as many points as you can in these qualifiers. And Gav did go a decent amount of time. I think he went like 7 months or so without like playing, at least competitively, like in the racing scene. So it's possible that there's some rust here. Maybe there's a little bit of like qualifier pressure going on. We don't really know, but it's definitely not the usual like crisp execution we're used to seeing from a runner of his caliber.
Yeah,
that's no knock on him. It's just sometimes you just don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to that point, I mean, Gavaroni is one of the best Ocarina of Time randomizer runners that is in the community, and so even on a bad day, Gavaroni, you're just watching all the small things that we aren't even mentioning that Gavaroni is doing to shave seconds off of his execution is just stunning. Even with some of these larger mistakes that are easier to see, we're not pointing out a lot of the smaller things that Gavaroni is doing right that is just saving them oodles of time.
You're not pointing out all the small things.
Oh my god. Get out. Just get out.
Hey, I was wanted here. I was selected for this position.
Hello, I'm doing solo comms now. My name is Doc Heaps. There is no salty sponge here.
Yeah, so still no boss key in water, I want to say. Gav heading to bottom of the well, gonna get their iron boots. And then it's just go to water, get your light arrow hint, and at that point, I'm looking at Gav. I mean, we have everything except for Strength 3 in terms of location access. So if light arrows are in anywhere other than Light Trial, we can expect to be finished in about, I want to say, like 240. Because, I mean, we're going a decent ways in the Water Temple here.
Yeah, I could see that. If somebody did not do GTG, I could see a 230, 240 finish in the race. I could see Gav finishing in 245, 250 for sure.
I think that's a little late, to be honest. Because, I mean, he's going to do most of the well, but there's also, it's just water and then find light arrows. It depends on if Strength 3 is required. If Strength 3 is required, we got a whole new ball game. Put it up.
I'm banking on it being in Gerudo Valley. So
the hammer chest. That's probably if Ganon's like, you need Strength 3, but I imagine Gav is gonna like save in Ganon's castle, walk all the way over to Valley, check the chest, and if it's not in there, hit that reset button and say, nah, I'm out, Chief.
Yeah, maybe say some words that shouldn't be said on SpeedGaming Live.
I don't know. He's been pretty stone-faced this whole time. I mean, yeah, he's had a couple of shrugs here and there on some bosses and maybe some items, but for the most part, he's like,
it's a good thing that it's not me who's running, because you would see my face might make some words that might rhyme with truck. Zephyr.
That is an unfortunate bonk. And that can happen when you go a little bit too far left on the wall there. Because there's not enough polygons for Link to actually grab the ledge.
It's almost as if this game was made in 1998 or something.
Damn, man. You're telling me. And we're still playing it.
I know.
I'm really the
fool. Oh, truly. Fun little strat here you're going to see from Zephyr. Lights the torch, but then we'll still raise the water level. I'm just... Water Bosky seems like it's not in a fun location.
Yeah, honestly, I'll be pretty happy if I get to see my boy Darklink today. It's been a hot minute.
So you'll see now Zephyr opening the door because it was already opened with it was already open before raising the water level, and so you don't have to relight the torch. In fact, the torch can remain unlit and still open the door. And if we're lucky, we're gonna get a nice little peek here coming up. Be able to see this chest even before doing the check. Nope, we're just gonna go for it.
If the chest is required to be open, then just going for it obviously is faster than spending a little time looking at it. I'm actually very interested to see what this chest is. Because I want to see some funky tunic logic.
Yeah, because we still haven't found Zora's tunic, have we? Ah, boo. I wanted light arrows, dang it. Yeah, and one of the things that Gav is going to have going for them is that they can get that light arrow hint from Ganondorf, excuse me. And so while it might be inconvenient to go to Ganon's castle, at least they will have known direction of like, I need to go to X location to get my light arrows. With the one exception being if it is in light trial, which requires strength 3. And at this point, we only have 2 strengths, so that would be somewhere.
Yeah, that's the big conundrum here is, where are those pesky light arrows?
Mm-hmm. And you know, talking of light trial is not an insignificant location. I mean, light trial in and of itself has the 6 checks in the ring, the 7th for beating the enemies, and the 8th for playing Zelda's Lullaby. And so that's a pretty sizable amount of location of like items that could be in light trial locked by strength 3. So it's very possible.
Statistics support the idea that the lights will be anywhere other than light trial, but statistics go out the window when you roll an Ocarina of Time random seed.
Oh,
because I'll bet you that, yeah, Dark Link,
let's go.
always required. Because I'll bet you Zephyr is not thinking about what the statistical probability of the hammer being on Torch Puzzle is right now.
No. And I don't know about you when it comes to routing, but like if I don't have any other things with regards to progression or, you know, branching off of Wath here hints, density is just the next place that I go. Of just like what is, you know, because I'm playing for the odds. Like if I can do 15 checks in 10 minutes versus doing 5 checks in 10 minutes, which would I rather be doing when I'm looking for that last item? Well, probably the 15 checks in 10 minutes. And we'll prioritize that place first.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I kind of expect Zephyr to run towards GTG after this. Because, I mean, they're out of information, pretty much. It's just, from their perspective, it's a casino.
Yep.
And when I say casino, it's kind of like a catch-all term to describe a situation in which you have no relevant hint information left, no progression, and you basically just kind of have to guess or make educated inferences as to where your final item is based on like meta, like what people are most likely to do. Like it's just, here are your options, pick one, hope it has your item.
Yep. Great quick grab there from Zephyr. Specifically with the way that the randomizer has changed these boss fights to remove cutscenes, you can grab Morpha before Morpha dives down into the water to start its initial phase. And by doing so, you can lock Morpha in that crease where the door is and be able to knock out or be able to beat Morpha even before Morpha has a chance to do any of their attacks.
Yeah, that was a really solid boss fight for Zephyr.
Yeah.
Pretty much as good as you can do it.
Yeah, I think you clean Lake and then you go GTG. Almost certainly.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about like any other options that Zephyr has, but I mean Ice, but you know, you do Ice before a fully clearable GTG. I mean, some people might.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might if you're a cool guy.
Look, if you're a cool guy, you would have done it at the 45-minute mark. I mean, you would have been like, bottle, sweet, ZL, sweet. I'm going to be a cool guy. Or girl, you could be a cool girl too.
You can be a cool human being.
Cool person.
It does look like he's going to walk out of Lake though.
Totally. Grab this diving minigame here and maybe do laptop and then be on your way.
Yeah, that is something that we have neglected to mention, is that Zephyr should know. I mean, we have the third bomb bag? Because we did also find Boomerang in Forest Temple. Like, there's no guarantee that the bombs are way the hero until that third bomb bag shows up, and it is like bomb locked or hammer locked or anything like that.
I don't think we've seen the third bomb bag. However, I will say that my ability to pay attention that much is fairly limited. Oh, Zephyr, do it.
Attention to
do it. No, hold on. I want to see. Come on. Make the climb. Come on. No!
Oh wait, he saw it.
Okay, it's fine. Did he actually save time because of that? No, because he fell. But anyway, what were you saying, Sponge? Sorry, I was just
took
really
the long climb. No, I was just gonna make a joke that if you can remember 50% of the seed, I'll remember the other 50%.
Yeah, perfect. Can we do that when we're actually racing? Oh no, and
playing co-op.
I know, right? I laugh because there's lots of different ways that people play Ocarina of Time Randomizer. Because it is a randomizer, there's a lot of... Oh!
There's our tuning! That's locked by Frogs 2.
By Frogs 2, which is locked by Epona's, which is locked by...
It's deep in the logic. We don't care. We don't care about the tuning.
What I was gonna say is that there's lots of different ways that people keep track of items and locations and all those things. And the one that I particularly use will remind you where you picked up an item should you type that in. And so my goldfish of a memory oftentimes relies on like, wait, where did I find that bomb bag? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I found that bomb bag.
Come on, goldfish don't have that bad of a memory.
True, they probably have a better memory than I do.
Have you ever given a goldfish a quiz? How do you know?
You know, I personally have not conducted a double-blind randomized control trial to see if goldfish truly do have good memories.
All right. So Gav elected to check the Dragon Switch chest before heading through the rest of Water Temple. So that's going to cost him so...
Oh! Hello, darling.
Okay, so that's... I mean, if Strength 3 is required, Zeph has it, but I still don't see how they're ever going to end up at Torch Puzzle. But we know where it is now.
Yeah. At least if we have to do Light Trial, we know what Gav is up against.
We have random spawn, so if Gav is like, alright, I'm going to go do... Like, if the lights are in Light Trial and Gav is like, alright, I'm going to go get that chest in Valley Hammer Rocks, but I'm going to reverse to get it, he's going to hit that Strength 3 first. But if he goes through the front...
He SOL.
We could have a double last location situation on our hands. Potentially. Okay, everybody, if you have any energy whatsoever, pray for a non-double S location.
for not only these runners, but your sweet commentators who are hungry and maybe need to use the bathroom sometime soon. And would love for the seat to not drag out an egregiously long amount of time.
Look, I only want what's best for our runners. And what's best for our runners is also best for us.
Yeah, I think we call that a symbiotic relationship, but that's just the nerd in me.
Everybody, keep sending Zeph your energy. Keep, giving him thoughts of, hey, maybe I should check Torch Puzzle, but...
Oh, hey, Torch Puzzle? Maybe Torch Puzzle. I still remember the day, by the way, that I learned that guard that gives you the Gerudo card, that her outfit changes based off of things like, what is your tunic color? What is your strength color? And so she's not always wearing the same outfit, which I think is pretty fun.
Yeah, the first time I noticed that, it was very like, oh, hey, that's not how it is and how it usually is.
Yeah, right? That's a nice little lilac color. I didn't know that was even possible.
Alright, so Zephyr now in GTG, seeing the middle chest is in fact a big chest, so we will be seeing all of GTG on Zephyr's side, including the Strength 2 lock checks. Can still, there's a chance light arrows are going to pop up in here. GTG is not cleared of relevance completely, not until we have the light arrow hint, but most of GTG is unfortunately going to be a time sink.
Yep, and that's the scary thing right now, is that any check that we have left undone is a possible location for light arrows, which can be as complex as, go and get string 3 to do light trial. It could be as simple as go and do chickens, or cuckoos, I should say, in Kakariko.
Yep. Could be 20 skulls.
Oof. Love this little recoil strat coming up, by the way.
Bang.
Ah, it's so slick.
One of the few times Link willingly hits a wall.
but he didn't like hit it with his head. He hit it with his sword, which I think is okay.
All right, well, you imagine lunging yourself at a wall with a sword.
Look, I don't imagine using a metal chain to pull myself across a ravine, okay? So I think there's a lot of things that I have to disbelieve here before I start getting worried about the intricacies of hitting a wall with my sword and recoiling off of it.
All right, so Zephyr heading over to Morpha. Sorry, not Zephyr. Gaborone heading over to Morpha. Zephyr about to clear out the Strength 2 lock room here, which is, besides the toilet, the one area of GTG that we have no information on.
And a very high density room, just by and large. It's 4 checks in a very small area. In fact, apart from something like Mido's house, it is one of the highest check dense areas in the game. Just in what you can accomplish in how little amount of time.
Yeah, always coming to GTG without the ability to clear this room always feels bad.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Bless you, good sir. I see many small keys.
Yep. Which I believe that means that our, again, what we as a community would call toilet, it's the silver rupee room. Underwater, lots of junk in there, which is why we call it the toilet, should be an item. Because Gav had 7 keys, no strength 2. Those are the last 2 keys that we'd be looking for.
Yep. Gav had a pretty nice Morpha kill there. Didn't get the quick kill on the door, but was able to push Morpha into the corner, which was kind of like the old quick strat of defeating Morpha. And was able to keep Morpha in the corner and just stab away.
Yep. And you'll probably see Gav here still do Shoot the Sun. The time of day works so that when you beat Water Temple, it's the first part of the morning, and it is just the best location and time to do Shoot the Sun. And so very often, if you're missing anything at all, you'll see people do Shoot the Sun right after Water. Even if they have other places to go, just because it's so convenient.
Even if they have suns as well, it's just...
Yeah, it's just...
Nobody wants to be that peep that goes to Ganon, and he's like, your light arrows are in Lake Hylia, and you just... You're just like, damn it, I played myself.
Yep, and especially without Serenade. I mean, you just don't have great access back there, so you might as well.
All right, I am waiting with bated breath for this light arrow location.
So in chat, get your bets. Where do you think light arrows are? And if you're gonna say Ganon's Castle, I want specificity. I don't want you just to baby on out and say, oh, Ganon's Castle. No, I want commitment. Is it Spirit Trial? Is it Water Trial? Is it Shadow? It can't be Spirit, but I want commitment.
I'm going with Ice.
Ooh, you know what? Let's go for the meme. Gerudo Valley.
The Hammer Rocks?
Yep, the Hammer Rocks.
This has been a very long for these settings seed, and the last piece of the puzzle is coming up soon.
So get your bets in chat where you think it might be. We got some fun locations that it could be still. It could be chickens. You know, it could be Cuckoos and Kakariko.
You know, just go child and oh well, I can't see that, but grab a couple of chickens and
and use your imagination about how you could make that lewd.
Oh man,
I got you.
You're gonna get me in trouble, Peep.
Oh, the fact that I haven't gotten myself in trouble yet is truly remarkable. And that is our first place finisher, by the way. Cariosa finishing with a time of 2 hours, 42 minutes, and 59 seconds. Oh, that was a minute ago. So we did actually have a first place finish. Cariosa with 2:42.59. So Gav really not that far behind our first place finisher here, and should do quite well overall.
I mean, you never know. It could still be Light Trial, and all of a sudden we got a big. Oh my! But yeah, GG's to Cariosa. Nice finish.
Yep.
Always good to take first in the first qual.
Yeah, and you know, as Spencer mentioned earlier, very, very strong, talented player, winner of the Zelda Speedruns Season 5 Standard Tournament. So definitely has some high accolades behind their name.
Yeah. Imagine winning Season 5.
Truly
Couldn't
imagine.
have been me.
Imagine not going 0-2 in Season 5.
All right. The reason that information is a little important to announce. King Zora?
No.
Hey, wait, does that count as Ice Cavern? Am I technically right?
You are, well, I mean, technically.
Well,
you certainly would not have picked it up on your way to Ice Cavern.
No. Unless I somehow, wherever that blue fire was, Shadow Temple? Shadow Temple.
Shadow.
Yeah.
This is going to be, oh, okay, this works too. I was like, you could save quit and
go Water Trial, but you have a blue fire bottle.
Oh, I mean save quit because the save spawn is at the bottom of Source River. But I think
Right.
this is still faster.
Yeah, this is faster because you're not at the bottom. Well, I don't know. But my first instinct is yes, this is faster. But the reason that it's important to announce the first finisher is that is information that if Zephyr is looking at the race room, they are now privy to. So they can now think like, okay, like what's a location that works for this finish time? Like what have I done? What do I expect Cariosa to have done? And this is the part of the game that, you know, a lot of people either agree or disagree on, where it's like, okay, the metagaming aspect. What information can I infer from a single finish time?
Yep.
Or
And-
lack of a finish time.
Yeah, and because I was about to say, yep, there's a big difference between I finished in 2 hours and 10 minutes versus I finished in 2 hours and 42 minutes. Quite different implications in where items might be. Because again, the more runners that you have, the more likely that somebody is going to stumble onto the quote unquote best route, right? Where they got all the items that they needed with doing very minimal additional locations. And so it kind of becomes like the quasi, what is the ideal timing for this route?
And it's important as a player that as you're playing, you take note of, okay, where does this route diverge here? What do I expect most players of my caliber to do in this situation? And then, you know, you kind of follow along from there, and you say, okay, like let's say you go do GTG and somebody finishes while you're in GTG. You're like, okay, maybe there's nothing in GTG here or something like that. So there's lights for Gav. They're on their way to finish.
Yep. One of the times that it can be a little bit trickier to understand finish times is when it really comes down to one item, and it's somewhere in a very inconvenient location, like the top of Fire Temple. Sometimes it can make for very interesting and otherwise fast finish times. But then you see this big, just drawn out spread of finishes of people who decide to go to, you know, X terrible location when they do to get their last item.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most like interestingly debated aspects of OOT. Like, should you metagame? Should you not metagame? Like if Zephyr is looking at the race room, that's definitely information that they're taking into account. And you get many different opinions based on who you ask.
Yep. And I feel like for Zephyr at this point, I mean, any location that Zephyr has left could be the location based off of finish times. I mean, because at this point, Zephyr's done basically everything but fire. Well, everything but Volvagia and subsequently Ganon's Castle, which they know at this point is kind of null and void because they will beat the seed before needing to do Ganon. So literally any check left in the game could have been that hammer for them.
Yeah. I guess it just depends on like whether Zeph feels like maybe it's on the way. Like, I mean, he is doing ice. I think this is like one of his densest remaining locations. So they are gonna get. He is gonna get his light arrows out of this. But yeah, I don't know how he gets back the torch puzzle.
I think it's going to be a fairly late last location.
I'm just trying to think of like what's left. Like, check G, check Wasteland.
Because they did all they did all of water in that dip.
Yeah, so there's nothing left to water. They're checking ice. They're gonna get their lights off King Zora. 20 exists.
20 chicken
Cacos. Yep. Chickens, frogs 1.
Nope, we have that sometimes hint.
1, 2, 3. There's 4 checks left for Zephyr and Logic after Ice Cavern.
But again, like at least coming here netted them light arrows, so that will save them a little bit of time in the back end. It's still not great, but it will save Zephyr time in the back end for sure.
Yeah. It's just really unfortunate that they happen to run out of magic in that specific location. Like,
Mhm.
the seed could have been very different depending on, you know, if they still had a little bit of magic, they would have gone back for it. Maybe that's a question for the interview forum.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when, you know, having played a number of randomizer seeds myself, you always ask yourself, like, what are things that I could have learned from that seed? Is there something that I could have done different, or was it simply that just, you know, I was unlucky for whatever reason? And usually, more often than not, there's something that I can learn from either routing decisions or, you know, talking about things like item management. There's always something that you can take away from and learn from a seed. And so you know, it's something that I try to apply is how can I be better based off of what happened during those last 3-ish hours.
Yeah. Or 2, depending on the seed you got.
Yeah, or 1 if you're, you know, truly fortunate.
Well, speaking of fortunate, Gavaroni about to finish up. Get your preemptive GGs in chat. It's been a long, crazy road, but one of our runners has finally reached the end of it.
There it is, and Zephyr storing that ground jump.
GG to Gavaroni with a finish time of 2 hours, 52 minutes, and 29 seconds. That is good for 3rd place on the leaderboard, behind obviously Cariosa with a 2:42.59 in 1st place, and Idano in 2nd place with a 2:48.28.
Yeah, so even, you know, despite, we talked a little bit about, you know, these boss fights and could the little bit tighter boss fight execution have netted them a 2nd place versus 3rd? Probably. But when you're looking at the grand scheme of qualifiers for a tournament, the difference between 2nd and 3rd ends up being fairly minor in the grand scheme of things. So even just netting a 3rd is still an awesome placement for Gav.
Yeah, you want to be in that part-time range where it's like the first couple of finishers are going to determine what the I mean, imagine golf, like part-time. That's where you want to aim for, and I think Gav definitely got himself in there.
Absolutely. And speaking of Gav, GG's, man.
And GG's.
Yeah, GG's, Gav. So nothing like a nice, actual all-dungeon seed to start off fall, huh?
Dude, I played so badly. Holy, man. I can't tell you the last time I've 2-cycled Twinrova, bro. That was rough.
Yeah, we could see the frustration, like, kind of mounting, like a not terrible Baronet, but not great. Well, Vajra, you had a little hiccup there, but the Twinrova, like, it was really kind of unfortunate when you hit that, like, regular slash on the cycle. Like,
yeah.
It seemed like, you know, like, things weren't really working for you in the boss fight front.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, right before you hopped in, we were talking a little bit about how, you know, even acknowledging that, you know, some of that execution could have been a little bit tighter, that just because of your experience with the game and your overall skill, that you were even still able to nab 3rd place, even knowing all of these, you know, small little execution things that could have been better. So I think that just overall speaks to how strong you are as a player and runner overall. So I think you still did an amazing job.
Yeah, I mean, 3rd's plenty fun. I mean, I haven't really played Rando in like the last 7 months other than this week.
God, I wish my Rusty looked like this.
Yeah, we mentioned that over stream, that, you know, it's been quite a long break for you, so it's only natural that there's going to be some hiccups along the way. But I mean, in terms of, like, decision making, I wanted to ask you, like, so you got the market way of the hero later than Zephyr did. When you got the strength upgrade in bomb shoot bowling, did it occur to you to, like, it seemed like you had gone forest, like, very quickly after. Like, what was the like, when you found the market way of the hero, did it affect anything about how you routed the seed with, like, strength upgrades and things like that, leading to bomb bag?
I don't think it necessarily changed how I routed. I mean, I think it was a bit unfortunate more than anything, because you could have had that hint like 30 seconds into the seed or something, and then I probably don't go GTG, which was as far as I'm aware, entirely skippable unless I forgot something that was there.
No, it was entirely.
Yeah,
Yep.
Baron, right? Alright, so I don't know. Realistically, I think because of the graveyard way of the hero, I probably shouldn't have done GTG anyways and cleaned that first, because you get like the child market checks. You clean up graveyard, confirm it's Nocturne, and then kind of go from there. But GTG was just dense, so I went there and then eventually got the strength just because it was the next best play. And then when I got the way of the hero later, I wasn't feeling super hot, I would say, but I don't know. Force itself was way of the hero too, so going there after getting strength felt fine, and it was required, so I don't know. The seed felt pretty straightforward to route, honestly. It kind of comes down to if you do GTG or not, I think, and other than that, you kind of just do everything else in the game, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so speaking of that, Zephyr is about to pick up their hammer. To explain, Zephyr ran out of magic before doing Torch Puzzle, so they unfortunately ended up almost last locationing it.
Didn't do bow stuff, huh? Feels bad, man.
Yeah.
Kinda
So talking a little bit about routing and just to kind of pick your brain a little bit, we saw some pretty interesting divergence right at the beginning of the seed. Zephyr electing to do kind of a longer, more classic adult segment versus you going straight child. What was your thought process or logic behind going child versus staying adult?
I don't know if there's. I think both are fine. Honestly, I've leaned towards in these. Starting with Prelude basically makes the age change irrelevant, right? Like if you think of like season 5 when you could lose like 15 minutes going child sometimes, like it's not obviously like that right now. So at least in these settings, so challenge is pretty strong. You know, it's not 3-song anymore, but 2-song and Deku is still pretty broken, I would say. So I would say in most of these I've leaned towards early child into, you know, an adult CAC DC kind of thing most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If I spawn in CAC, I'll do it, but as adults. But I'm probably not gonna go out of my way to like run over to CAC in that situation, especially because like you don't have like with Deku open and a big part of like going adult CAC in previous settings is that like missing Kokiri sword early game is really punishing, but that's not a problem obviously with open Deku. So
Yeah, we were debating the like the song in Kakariko and the potential of finding like maybe a Ruro's letter to open up Ice Cavern potentially versus the guaranteed songs, guaranteed Deku clear. Like even if it's like a water medallion like it is here, it's still something early on that almost every player is gonna do, unless you have a Baron hint for it.
Yeah.
which is just unfortunate.
Surely everyone had done it at this point, but where was the Baron's hint? It was pretty late, I think, at least for me.
It was underneath the Goron.
Right, okay, yeah.
And Zephyr actually got that for Deku.
Yeah, I could see it, because he stayed adult, right? So that would make sense.
Yeah, Zephyr actually had, like, so he turned in the claim check and got 5 chews, and then walked into Dodongo's cavern and got the bomb bag.
Pull the bomb bag, so then got strength in Child 1, because then they could do bomb chew bowling. It was this disgusting route. Like, it should not have worked that well, and somehow it did.
I think Zephyr's probably going to go learn bow stuff after the seed, I can tell you that much.
Well, yeah, I mean, potentially. I think you both, like, Zephyr on the execution side has played really well. It's just that little, I mean, even if Zephyr knows how to do bow stuff and Spirit, it's not a guarantee. Like, I know a lot of players skip Torch Puzzle with all of the means to do so.
Yeah, and because that's kind of what I was thinking too, is people might have skipped Sunblock, which is how I somehow squeaked out the place I did. But I was kind of thinking about it later, and it's like technically until you've beaten Bongo, Requiem could have just been Way of the Hero for the hammer itself instead of for storms. So if that's why I was like pretty adamant on full clearing everything there.
Yep.
While I was there.
We actually sat down and we figured it out, but based on the fact that we had long shot, lens, magic, and a fire source, you could actually get enough keys to get hammer without Requiem. And so once the dust settled on that, we realized that Requiem, if truly the Way of the Hero song, could only be required for beating the dungeon.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, I think that's something that you're probably never going to think about in the middle of the seed, but...
Oh, yeah, totally.
Somebody could follow the logic, I'm sure. There's people out there that are logic whizzes. But, I mean, by that point, it didn't... Like, you're always going to go... The Nocturne was guaranteed Way of the Hero, so you're going Shadow anyways, and the moment you beat the dungeon, you know that Storms is required, so... It wasn't...
Yeah.
It didn't end up mattering all that much. I guess you save yourself an extra trip to Spirit in like a minute or something, but...
Yeah, and you're right. Like, once you've beaten Shadow and you go, well, Shadow netted me nothing, it's almost certain you're like, okay, well, what could have Shadow been? Well, leads to Storms. Okay, well, let's go do Storms.
Right. Was Serenade on OOT, by the way?
I believe so. I don't think we got an OOT or a Burning Cactus on.
Serenade was in Ice.
Okay.
Because Zephyr has it. The only song they're missing is Sun Song, and the only song they haven't picked up is the Ocarina of Time song.
Good. I was planning on checking OOT as Child before, like after getting the irons, because it could have been Serenade, but chose not to, and didn't matter, so that's good. Saved myself a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of rare that these settings are AD, so that was an interesting first seed. It does happen, obviously, but you don't see it too frequently.
I mean, we knew it was ominous when we started with the Light Medallion. That's just like, oh baby, here we go.
And of course, like this, one of the things that we were laughing at was, Gerudo Valley. You had peeked that and knew that Hammer Rocks had locked something.
Yeah.
And so, of course, in the back of our mind, we're sitting here thinking, well, it could always just be Hammer Rocks, like in Valley. Like, what if blah blah item that we're still missing is Hammer Rocks in Valley?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for a while that was going to be relevant, because I thought going GTG was a pretty big blunder for myself. Obviously, it had nothing, and especially if you had gotten the Market Way of the Hero, you're probably just kind of following the path the seed set for you for quite a while. So I was like, oh well, maybe knowing that'll be where Dids is or something, and then it didn't happen to be that way. But...
It's probably just the third slingshot.
Kidding me.
Truly, GTG was the biggest disappointment. Is you're finding big chest after big chest, and it's slingshot here, ice arrows there. We're like, of course, ice arrows are in their vanilla location. Why wouldn't they be?
There was vanilla milk bottle. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Vanilla. We had vanilla bow, vanilla ice arrows. There's a lot of vanilla in this seed.
Yeah, we caught vanilla bow. Yeah, Oh, go for it, Sponge.
I was just gonna say, third place, not too shabby for qual number 1. You're probably gonna end up within the par time, which is, for those in chat, yeah, it's the first couple of placements in the qualifier that determines what the go for time is, I guess. Where it's like, if you're below the par time, you get under a certain amount of points. If you're above the par time, you get above a certain amount of points. And obviously, it's a qualifier, so more points equals good. So a third place finish, it's gonna help you out in terms of seeding. So is there? So I just want to ask, in terms of qualifiers, is your approach to the qualifiers going to be try and get 3 great races in and maybe hope to avoid having to do a 4th or a 5th race? Or are you planning on just doing as many as you can?
I think if I get 3 pretty good races, I probably wouldn't do 4 and 5. But the qualifiers actually timing-wise work out pretty well for me, so it's not like it's a struggle to do 5. So I don't know, if one of them is what I consider suboptimal at that point, I'll probably do 5. But good start at least. I mean, if I do 3 races like this, I don't think qualifying should be much of an issue, and at that point it's just seeding, and you kind of got to beat everyone to win the tournament anyways, so.
Yeah, it's just like if you happen to have like one race that like maybe you need to forfeit for whatever reason, and now you have a 0, it's like, well, yeah, now I'm kind of locked into doing 5 races. So I didn't expect anybody to like forfeit in this first qual, because
that'd be well, forfeiting is like extra bad in these too, right? Isn't there like something in the rules that like makes it so it doesn't count or something? I don't know, maybe
so your 4th race will drop your best score. Yeah.
Oh right,
so...
and if you get like you could finish 30 hours after someone, you'd still get 10 points, right? If you don't forfeit.
Yeah, there is hopping in to explain more about the call points. Yeah, it will be there is, I believe I programmed in a lower floor of 10 points. As long as you finish a seed, you will earn more than 0 points. We did have someone last year who was behind enough that they would have gotten negative points if I didn't put the floor in.
Yo, I was about to say, I have a new goal that I'm shooting for. That how far in the negative can I get?
Just finish so far ahead that you force everyone else in the race to get negative points.
Exactly. No, and I think I was going to make mention of this for people who came in halfway through. Again, this is the SpeedGaming Live 2022 Ocarina of Time Randomizer online tournament. There will be an in-person tournament later in October. But this is specifically the online portion, and within this tournament, there will be 12 qualifiers over the course of about a month and change that will result in the seeding, exactly as Sponge mentioned, about 3 times count. Your top one, if you do 4, gets dropped, and your bottom one, if you do 5, get dropped. But we've got plenty more qualifiers. So, even those that might have struggled today to get all their items and finish at a good time still have ample opportunities to be able to qualify for this tournament.
Yeah, I believe it is a top 32 bracket, so...
you would be correct.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, there were not 32 people in this race, so... Currently, everybody in this qual, assuming everybody finishes, is currently in the running to make the bracket. Hooray!
You aren't wrong!
If quals ended today, we would have a... How many?
I think there was 15 people who
We have a 14-person bracket. Oh, well, there is one do not finish.
Yeah, there was a forfeit for sure, I saw it earlier.
Yeah,
So we would have a 13-person bracket. But we got Zephyr walking into the final Ganon fight. Gonna be finishing up here in the next small handful of minutes.
Shoutouts to pushing through it. There's, it could have been... It's tough to leave the hammer in that location, but, having the mental fortitude to just stick it out, just get any points you can, because you never know if you're going to need them. It's a good skill to have.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Not only is it a good Zooter skill to have, but just good skill in life to have. Just be like, you know what? You can kick me down seed, but you can't beat me. I'll show you what's up.
Yeah, it's just a very unfortunate set of events for Zephyr today. They were doing pretty well because of the strength upgrade on Bombshell Bowling. Like, they were able to get that in their Child 1, and that led to like the whole string of items. And then it was just, they went into Spirit before Jabu, but Spirit ended up being required anyway. So like we're talking like maybe like neck and neck with Gab, maybe even a little bit ahead if they just had a little bit of magic.
Yeah, because y'all were walking into Jabu within about a minute of each other. Yeah. Having roughly the same progression done. I mean, in different areas for sure, but like both having done good progression into Jabu together. So it was fairly close there in the mid game.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, Zeph's obviously a good player, so and had a good route.
Yeah. All right, everyone, get your GGs in for Zephyr.
GGs,
Powered
Zeph.
through, finished.
With a time of 3 hours, 11 minutes, and 12 seconds. That is good for 8th place on the leaderboard. And from 4th to 7th, we have Barbu with 3:05.02. Fant in 5th with 3:05.08. A 6-second snipe. 5th.
Oh, it gets better.
It gets better. Fabio in 6th with a 3:05.13.
All of that within 11 seconds of each other.
Let's Clay in 7th with a 3:08.21. Zephyr in 8th, as we mentioned. Cine in 9th with a 3:12.13. And Chuckles in 10th with a 3:12.48. 35 seconds off.
Spoilers in case that hasn't happened in real time yet, but you know, it's fine.
I mean, Cine's probably done by now.
Yeah.
And Chuckles is only 35 seconds behind. They're on their way.
They're I mean, if you wanted to, you could check the race room. Nothing's stopping you from doing that. Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome in, Zephyr. GG's.
Welcome, Zephyr.
Yeah, I don't know about GG on that one.
Gee, how about that then?
Yeah,
that was a game. That was
it was
played.
a game. it was a game, that's for sure.
Truly unfortunate in your what would have been third dip into Spirit that just didn't have magic to be able to do that one room that had the item that you needed.
Yeah, no, that was unfortunate. And then just, I don't know, overall, like, I'm just mad about execution everywhere. It just felt so bad for me. So it's definitely tough to like keep going, but
Well, congrats to you that you did, because you earned more than 0 points.
well, that was the whole goal, was to not get 0 points. You know how many times I just wanted to hit dot forfeit? Like,
I was lucky.
I was like, yes, personally, yes, many times.
like
It was like right after I joined the interview, you were in ice, failing a ground jump like 8 times, and I was
Yeah.
and you just stopped. I was like, oh, but he was about to hit the forfeit right there. That's
So-
right there. He was gonna hit the forfeit button.
Yeah, you saw the wheels turning.
I stopped like 2 or 3 times. Like, one was on Twin Rova because she was just trolling the shit out of me, and I just like stopped and paused. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. Like, I don't even want to finish this fight. And then yeah, in ice, I was like, this ground jump is annoying the shit out of me.
Yeah, and you know, we had mentioned that, like, one from a race and points perspective, like, even getting, you know, multiple hundreds of points is, or whatever the scaling is that they're using, is still way better than 0.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, like, you know, it speaks to you as a person, you know, not only just like, I'm gonna stick this out because I want the points, but also just because, like, I am somebody who doesn't quit. Like, I finish until the end. And so I think that's just like high praise of you, just to like be able to stick it out even when your back was kind of against the wall and you didn't feel like it, like, to still be able to finish it out just speaks highly of your character. So GG's.
Yeah, for like a qualifier, and with like how tough it is, like, you forfeit, you get 0 points, and you forfeit, then you have to do 5 races. Like,
Yeah.
so, you know, I feel like all of my quals after this, like, I don't even know if I'm going to be doing like all of the quals or enough quals to qualify with my schedule and whatever. Like, I'll do what I can.
Mhm.
But, and that's another part of it, is like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do 5. I might only be able to do 3, you know? So it's like, I might as well finish, because either get some points or get 0 points, you know?
Speaking of some points, do y'all want to hear the points that you scored in this race? Unofficial.
Unofficially, let's hear it.
You have unofficial points. So Gav, with your third place, unofficially you have netted 97.32 points. And
Nice.
Zephyr, with your 8th place, you have netted 86.18 points. Unofficially.
Yeah, it's
What's
not
it
bad,
like?
actually.
What's the top end?
So the top cut was the top 3 times because there was not as many entrants for the formula to use top 5.
Yeah.
Right.
To clarify more, I wrote from SG this formula, but essentially takes the average of the top 3 and then does the standard deviation calc on it to well, par time, which in this case is top 3, and then does a standard deviation calc on it with an upper limit of 110 and a lower limit of 10 for all finishers. And then if you did not finish, you get a 0.
Mm.
The official sheet will be posted once everyone is done, and then you can see the full calculation.
Fair enough.
And now to talk about what is a standard DV. I'm just kidding.
Thanks,
that sounds like
Professor.
math.
That sounds like a fun Saturday afternoon.
But yeah, you get 97 points for your trouble, Gav, and for Zeph for sticking it out, you get a nice 86 points, which honestly, I think you
That's-
take those points any day
It's
of the
not
week.
terrible, you know.
Yeah.
I'll take that for sure. But
Yeah, and it can certainly feel worse than it looks on paper. I think we've all had those moments, and I think Sponge and I were talking about that. About everyone has been in a moment where we go, it's one check. What are the odds that this one check has
like,
the item?
after I do Jawwood, I get Dins. I'm like, and I knew that Storms was on Burning Cack. I'm like, okay, so it's AD. Like, there's no way around this. It's probably AD. So I go back and I checked Child Spirit to get the boss key, and there's another key on Child side. So I'm like, okay, there's one key left and one item left. I'm like, I might as well check the lobby before I go to Twin Rova to see if that's the item or the key. And then it's like, oh, it ends up being the key, and I know there's an item in the sunblock room. I'm like, I have like GTG, ice. Something's gonna be in bottom of the well, probably. What are the odds that this one item is, hammer or iron boots, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's just rando.
And
like
then just
you make a risky, or it's like a calculated risk that it's one item out of everything else in the game that I have. And areas that I was about to go to anyway, so it's like, I'll take that risk. But
yeah,
and then you see finish times, and it's like, I can't metagame off of this. Like, I have no idea. Like, there's no way I can possibly know.
We talked about the potential impact of that, where it's like, okay, like, is there any way at all for Zeph to glean any information from this time? And I think ultimately, like, Doc, myself, and even chat, like, couldn't think of like any extra information we could pull. So we're like, it's just whenever Zeph stumbles into Torch Puzzle.
Yeah, like, because I think at that time I still had like GTG and ice available, and I'm like, you could have done this really early. Maybe it took someone a while to figure out like AD for iron boots kind of thing. So it's like, I don't know. Any of these plays could have been something that someone did earlier.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially because you had to do the most time-intensive play, i.e. AD anyway, that it could have just been any small little something.
Well, exactly.
Well, it could have been chickens for all we know.
Yeah, I was like, it could be chickens. It could be 20 skulls. Like, it could be,
Yep.
So I just want to ask you all a quick question. Do you all remember that it is 3 chickens, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I considered doing them before, but it didn't, with only needing one potential, and then light arrows obviously item. I was like, nah, it's not worth.
Yeah,
3
I'm just
chickens
making
type.
sure, because I constantly forget. And
I mean, I don't know
I
if I would
forgot
do it
in
if
the
it was
first-
2 chickens. Like, come on.
I forgot in the very first like practice race I did when it was 3 chickens and it happened to have hammer. And it wasn't until like I last location and I'm like, as I'm doing chickens and I grabbed like 1 or 2, I'm like, oh my god, it's 3 chickens. What am I doing? And then it was hammer and I'm like, are you kidding me? But
these are all so relatable.
3 chickens is really nice though. I mean, I think I've found myself doing chickens in like almost every seed of this I've played. It just actually doesn't suck anymore.
yeah,
Feels
I
good.
agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
so real
If
quick-
I'm in CAC like during the day, I'll probably do it. Like
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's easy enough from either
exactly.
from really any entrance to get 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just wanted to ask you both real quick. So, you've all have some seeds under your belt. So when it comes to the actual settings for SpeedGaming Live, what is your ultimate opinion? Are you fans of the settings? Is there some things that maybe you wish were different? Like, what can you tell us about how playing a seed for SGL feels versus a normal seed?
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a pretty big component for a long time. That 6 medallions is pretty boring. So, and I don't know. This is back in like pre-season 4. Like myself, Dylan, what the hells? I think you as well, Sponge, kind of came up with this win con originally. So I don't know. It's pretty big fan of it. Forest medallion's cool. Not always required. Actual choice. Bomb choosing, big chess, big pog. Don't ever play this game again without that, please. Please. Yeah, the rest is it's good though. I like the prelude start a lot. I think that was I'm a pretty big fan of. I don't want to say shorter seeds because like this was like 3 hours, right? But like the ability for a seed to be shorter and the combination
Just more
of like
efficient.
yeah, exactly. And you can like the problem with like random spawns plus no guaranteed prelude was that like sometimes you had to route less efficiently because you were losing so much time with age changes. So it like feels good to be able to just like route how you feel like you should be routing versus like, oh, this child play might be better, but it's like I have to run to my best way to child is to run from Kokiri Forest or something, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it even feels bad to play Nocturne as adult and run
Yeah.
a couple of times that way. Like, because sometimes that is the only way you can do it is, okay, well, Nocturne, run through Graveyard, run through CAC, run through Field.
And you even mentioned earlier on that by having Prelude, it opens up your opening options instead of just like you can choose to go Child and go Deku very quickly instead of being forced into wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. I mean, when we originally did random spawns, right, the whole point was open Grotto Owl is like just turbo overpowered, so that something had to be changed. But the combination of like Free Zelda and whatnot has made it so the child route isn't. It's still really good, obviously, but it's not like the end all be all best play every time. So having the options both is good.
I feel with like the random spawns and even with Prelude though, I find myself like routing Lon super late.
Mm-hmm.
and like especially if you don't have like Sun Song, you're like, oh shit, is my time of day gonna work for this? And like today, like dude, my time of day was like I got stuck on the tiniest bit of the gate, and I'm like, no.
I've never
Sponge
been
and I
so
had
stressed.
Oh my god, Sponge and I had a full-on panic.
But like I find that's like it makes trying to route Lon a little bit more interesting, like because if you spawn, like if you start as adult and you do some adult checks and some overworld movement, then it starts to throw off your time of day. And it's like I always hope that I can get like DC done if I'm staying as adult at the beginning so that it can reset my time of day. But when you can't, it's like, oh man, like hopefully you get like a good warp song so that your spawn as child isn't in market and you're not stuck there waiting for time of day.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty interesting with that. And like overall, I like the I like the win condition. It's a nice change of pace from like 6 medallions. And the only thing that I would want is to like force, if you don't start with the late medallion, like whatever dungeon the late medallion is, just force it Baron, because it's kind of like that kind of adds a bit to the casino factor, because it's like the late medallion is the most useless dungeon at that point.
It's just an extra side dungeon, pretty much.
Exactly. Like you just add another like GTG or ice or bottom of the well to the game, and it's just, I don't know. It's tough to like want to route it in. So I think it would be like, I feel like it would play a little bit quicker too, because then it's, you know, an extra area that you don't have to, that the game can't put an item in. But that's the only thing that I would want different.
I almost think if you were gonna do that, it might be cooler to just make the dungeon, instead of being barren, have it like cleared by default, and then whatever items are in it you start with. Could change.
Oh, yeah.
That
seeds
would
to
be
kinda
wacky.
interesting. You'd have all sorts I mean, like 90% of the seeds you're not gonna have anything, right? But sometimes you might just like spawn with a hammer. It's a little
Right.
maybe a little too RSL-y, I guess, but could be interesting. Yeah, it's good though. I mean, Lon Lon's a thing that I've struggled with a lot as well, because I've typically, with the prelude start, I almost always rip a save quit immediately after I change age. Like
Mhm.
regardless, because you can just always prelude back.
Yeah.
But often enough, especially as child, you're gonna spawn in like Kokiri or something, and then it's like, okay, now how the heck do I get? How the heck do I get
Yeah.
to Lon Lon, man? That Richard's always been a problem too. I mean, that was a problem with just random spawns, though.
Hmm.
As soon as
Yeah,
you got
Richard
rid
kind
of
of
the
becomes
season 3
interesting.
opener.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like as soon as, I guess free Zelda is actually probably the problem child for that, right? Because you're not forced into waiting for nighttime as child, like you were in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan. I mean, I'm playing the game again, so I guess that's a good sign.
Hooray! Welcome back, Gabaroni.
Yeah,
This is your welcome present.
thank you.
3 hours, nonsense, all dungeons.
Yeah,
You gotta
very good.
you gotta do Twin Rova not just once but twice. Welcome back.
You're welcome for this one.
Oh
Good.
God.
Honestly, getting a seed like this out of the way is nice though. Like it's a really good way to like de-rust just playing the whole game, right? So I mean, I've done like 7 or 8 of these seeds since starting, so I'm not like, I say I'm not rusty, but clearly that's not the case after how my execution was today.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I too cycled Twin Rova, bro. I mean, it was bad.
I feel like probably would have been on par then with what Twin Rova was doing for me. Like one was shooting at me, the other one was behind me. I'm like, there's no winning here. Like what are you
3
people
times
doing?
in a row? Yeah. It was. She really just wanted to make sure that you were having a rough time.
I'm just like, what's going on here? Other than that Phantom Ganon fight, oh my god, he was trolling too. I was just, I don't think I had like one good boss fight outside of like King Dodongo, and I don't know how you would screw up that.
It's possible.
Yeah, I was about to say you definitely could die on King Dodongo. Well, what do y'all say if we get this wrapped up and get ready for call number 2 tomorrow? How does that sound, y'all?
Amen to that. I'm going to eat lunch. Thanks for calming and stuff, Sponge, Keep, Star, and Baraba. I hope that's how you pronounce your name, for organizing the tournament. GG's.
GG's.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks for the restream and everything, guys.
GG's.
All right, have a
Of
good one.
course.
Jeez.
You can see in chat if you want to give these runners a follow, which I absolutely recommend. As you can tell, 2 amazing and hilarious runners. You can see their Twitch channels on chat, Gabaroni1 and Zephyr, spelled with a 3 and a 1. Give them a follow.
Or not. It's up to you. He strongly suggests that you follow.
Or you can give, my co-commentator, the Salty Sponge, a follow, or not. Or, if you are followed, maybe unfollow them. Your choice. On you.
We have free cookies.
Oh, but as mentioned, shout outs to our trackers as well, Melqui and Mirba, as well as Mirba and Star for organizing all of this. And Star, when is our next qual?
It is tomorrow. Well, believe the channel assignment is still undecided as of right this second, but it will be tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. CEST. We will see you all around for that. That will be myself and Tobias on the commentary for tomorrow, so that should be good fun. And then we'll have 2 weekday qualifiers coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern on 9 p.m. CEST on Tuesday, and then on Thursday we'll have an 8 p.m. qualifier. US, 2 a.m. for the Europeans. Then we'll be back to weekend quals. So be sure to check those out. If you wish to volunteer for any races you are not racing in, please join the Discord and send Maraba or I a DM, and we'll get back to you with more information on signups. And yeah, much appreciated all. GG's to all of our runners. It does look like everyone has dot done or unfortunately dot quit out of the seed. I think a few people got a bit randoed by this one, unfortunately. But it looks like with that, qualifier standings will be posted shortly, and that shall be it for us. Thank you for watching all. We will see you next time.
Peace out.
Take care, y'all.